Chapter 233 Chapter 233 Old Monster Tianming 1 Chapter 233 Old Monster Tianming 1 The soliciting Moon Mountain Range had a radius of several 100,000 miles, and this was only the length of the outer edge of the mountain range. No one dared to enter the depths of the mountain range. It was said that there were terrifying demonic beasts and some unknown dangers in the depths. Even powerful martial artists would get lost if they went deep. It was like a maze everywhere. However, during this period of time, countless experts had entered the depths together. Because the ancient cave abode opened once every 100 years, no one knew what treasures were in the ancient cave abode. It was not only the forces of Moonrise Mountain Range that had entered the city, but also the forces and experts from other places in Moonrise City. There were even figures of powerful cultivators outside soliciting Moon City. No matter what, there were always some fakes. The bigger the fist, the more reason. Even though Li Lingtian was reluctant to part with it, he could only endure it as he swiftly traversed the mountain range. Occasionally, they would encounter one or two powerful martial emperors. Among the martial emperors who came here, a few of them knew Li Lingtian. However, Li Lingtian did not recognize any of them. Nevertheless, no one would cause trouble outside the cave abode because they knew that no matter who won or lost, they would end up like mantises pouncing on cicadas. I didn't expect the spiritual energy in the soliciting Moon Mountains to be so dense. No wonder those experts chose to build their residences in the soliciting Moon Mountains. Li Lingtian muttered to himself as he flew. Although a martial arts grandmaster could fly in the air, it was much more energy efficient to use sword kinesis flight. It was best if he did not expend too much quintessential essence. 3 days was just the opening of the ancient cave dwelling. It was not said that the ancient cave dwelling would be closed in 3 days. Moreover, this ancient cave abode would only open for a month. If they could not find their way out after a month, they would stay inside forever. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Boom, boom. From time to time, the sound of flying ships and the sound of experts flying through the air could be heard. Li Lingtian was the only one who flew in at a moderate pace. Many powerhouses looked at him with disdain when they saw that he had no cultivation base. For such a martial artist to be able to ride a flying sword, he was definitely not a martial arts grandmaster. There were also many warriors like this who came to the depths, but they did not go in. This was because these martial arts grandmasters and martial kings were only here to kill the demonic beasts and watch the show. 2 days passed. On the 3rd day, Li Lingtian finally arrived at the deepest part of the mountain range. He didn't know whether it was the deepest part of the cave or not, because other than spiritual energy, there was also a terrifying miasma here. If one's cultivation was low, they would feel dizzy and even die here if they weren't careful. The deeper they flew, the more experts they encountered. Moreover, these experts were all martial emperors. Martial kings and martial grandmasters were rarely seen. Li Lingtian stopped in front of a huge canyon. There were more than 2,000 powerhouses in front of the canyon. Half of them were martial emperors, while the rest of the martial arts grandmasters and martial kings were there to watch the show. Haha, old monster Tianming. I didn't expect you to come as well. A loud and clear voice sounded. When the voice fell, an old man floated in the air strangely and swept his gaze down sharply. His eyes fell on an old man at the 8th level of the martial emperor realm. The old man's hair and beard were all white, but his whole body was in a mess like a beggar. Hearing this voice, countless experts looked at the old man with fear on their faces. There was more than one rank 8 martial emperor present, but when they saw the old man they were terrified. It turned out that this old monster Tianming naturally liked women, especially virgins under the age of 20. There were at least 8,000 women who had their een plucked to death by his hands. Moreover, they were all ferocious by nature. All the women who had been plucked by him had died tragically. More importantly, this old monster Tianming was terrifyingly powerful. Almost no one in the same level was his match. Even a few 9th level martial emperors had died in his hands. Old Ghost Dark Abyss, aren't you here as well? Old monster Tianming's gaze left the women and looked at old ghost Yinming in the air. He then revealed a mischievous smile. The two of them could be said to have the same bad taste. One was born with a love for women while the other was born with a love for killing. He refined the souls and true chi of martial artists, and finally turned them into his own cultivation. He even refined countless puppets. There were countless innocent martial artists in the Dark Abyss flag. The Dark Abyss Old Ghost was also an 8th-level martial emperor. He would not let go of any martial artists or ordinary people. He had once slaughtered 6 towns in a row in 10 days, and these towns were all places where ordinary warriors and ordinary people lived. Hundreds of thousands of ordinary people were killed, and their souls were refined into puppets. Li Lingtian looked at the 2 Tier 8 martial emperors with a calm expression on his face. However, he felt a tinge of fear in his heart. If he were to be with a martial emperor, he would not have any advantage at all. Any random expert could make him feel afraid. This strength was what was important. The 2 8th-level martial emperors were meditating and resting, waiting for the opening of the ancient cave mansion. In the sky, a super expert flew over from time to time. Their cultivation was all existences above Tier 5. Rumble. With a deafening boom, a gigantic spaceship appeared in the sky. Li Lingtian was shocked when he looked up. The person on the spaceship was someone he was familiar with, and someone who made him feel inexplicable. Shun Mei-er's face was still smiling flirtatiously, but there was a tinge of sadness in her smile. Only Li Lingtian could sense this sadness. Behind Shun Mei-er there were 5 super experts. 4 of them were at the 7th level of the Martial Emperor realm, and 1 was at the 8th level. The flying ship arrived in front of the canyon of the Demon King Cave, but it did not land. Instead, it floated in the air. Countless experts were shocked, and many proud sons of heaven smiled when they saw Shun Mei-er on the flying ship. Old Monster Tianming had an evil smile on his face, but when he saw the symbol on the spaceship, he felt a trace of fear. I didn't expect the people from the Queen's Palace to be here. It's really lively. At this moment, another super expert flew over. He was a peak 8th-level martial emperor, and his entire body emitted a faint scholarly aura. Hasn't Master Duan Yu of the Howren faction also come? On the spaceship, the leader of the group, an 8th-level martial emperor, said loudly with a proud look on his face. I heard that there are many treasures in the Soliciting Moon Mountain's ancient cave abode. I'm here to join in the fun. Scholar Duan Yu laughed and said loudly. He then descended and found a quiet place to meditate and rest. From time to time, a powerful martial emperor would come from behind. These martial emperors were all reputable figures in Moonrise City. Li Lingtian took a quick look and found that those who came were mostly martial emperors. Moreover, there were 7 rank 8 martial emperors and 1 rank 9 martial emperor. There were more than 30 rank 7 martial emperors, hundreds of rank 5 and 6 martial emperors, and the rest were all powerful. He closed his eyes to rest, but his mood could not calm down. Shun Mei-er was smiling as she looked at Li Lingtian intentionally or unintentionally. However, Li Lingtian was meditating and resting. Oh. Countless proud sons of the heavens were also constantly trying to curry favor with Shun Mei-er. Such a peerless beauty. No man in the world wouldn't go crazy for her. Dark Nether, how about the 2 of us join hands? Old Monster Tianming kept looking at Shun Mei-er, who was in the flying ship, and his lips kept opening. Tianming, we can join hands, but don't cause trouble for me. I don't need to think about your little hobby. You're also having bad thoughts. Don't touch the people from the Queen's Palace. Ming's lips kept opening and closing as he glanced at the flying ship. A hint of fear appeared on his face. In the Azure Continent, anyone could be provoked, but not the Wind Moon Palace, Queen's Palace, and House of Storms. Since you know my hobby, you will know that I will make a move. As long as you help me this time, I will not let you down. Don't you want the Ingot Pearl? If you help me, I'll give it to you. What do you think? Old Monster Tianming revealed an evil smile as he stared at Old Ghost Ming in the distance. Really, you will really take out the Ingot Pearl? This Ingot Pearl is your life-saving treasure. It would be strange if you took it out. If you give me the Ingot Pearl, I'll risk my life. But I can't do it here. I'll find a chance to kill all of them. I can't let anyone know. The Old Ghost Ming became excited, and his eyes lit up. He had wanted to obtain this Ingot Pearl for a long time. If he could obtain it, his Yinming flag strength would increase dramatically. His own cultivation could also be raised to the 9th level of the martial emperor realm or even reach the peak. However, it was impossible to snatch the Yin God Pearl from old monster Tianming. Moreover, old monster Tianming had never relented. Now that he was willing to take out the Yin God Pearl, he was puzzled. To tell you the truth, this girl's body of charm will allow my cultivation to increase rapidly if I dual cultivate. With this girl, I can break through to the 8th level of the martial emperor realm in less than 2 years. Moreover, if I miss such a girl, I'll have lived my life in vain. Otherwise, do you think I would take out the Yin God Pearl? Old weirdo Tianming said telepathically with an excited smile on his face, as if he had already reached the 9th level of the martial emperor realm, as if this peerless person had already made love in front of him. Li Lingtian did not know what they were talking about, but he could sense their divine perception through voice transmission. He knew that his divine perception was not strong enough. If he were to reach the rank of a martial emperor, his divine perception would surpass these few martial emperors, and he would be able to intercept their voice transmission. He also noticed that the two of them would occasionally glance at Shun Mei on the flying ship. He was sure that the two of them were communicating with Shun Mei. He felt a bitter smile in his heart. This Shun Mei was a natural beauty. She would become the target of others wherever she went. Fortunately, there was the existence of a transcending power like the Queen's Palace. Otherwise, they would have been finished long ago. However, he also understood that there were countless super experts who had evil intentions. As long as they did it discreetly, the Queen's Palace would not be able to find out who did it. However, at this moment, a voice transmission was heard and Li Lingtian smiled faintly. Chapter 234 Silverworm 1. Chapter 234 Silverworm 1. Nanming had also come. Although he was only a 3rd-level martial emperor, there was at least a guide inside. While Nanming was using it, he was also being used by others. In this world, no matter what the situation was, they would use each other. Sir Lingtian, you're early. There was a hint of joy in the voice. Li Lingtian looked in the direction of the voice transmission, and saw an elderly man in gray being blocked by a gray halo in a hidden corner. If he had not spoken telepathically, Li Lingtian would not have been able to find him. Li Lingtian felt an inexplicable sense of vigilance when he saw this. 2. Sir Nanming, you've already arrived. I thought you weren't coming. Li Lingtian smiled. Although he was on guard, he did not show it. The more vigilant he was, the more relaxed he should be on the surface so that the other party would not hide it further. On the flying ship, Shun Mei looked at the person in her line of sight with a faint smile on her face. Her lips kept opening and closing. She knew who she was talking to. Almost every martial artist here used secret sound transmission. That elegant and graceful person could no longer be erased from the bottom of his heart. As time passed, the Big Dipper appeared in the sky at midnight. The 7 stars slowly formed a string. Countless experts became serious as they looked at the 7 stars' alignment in the sky. As long as the 7 stars were aligned, the ancient cave abode would open. This was the pattern that had been studied for the past 300 years. Tis. The 7 stars aligned in the sky, and a dazzling ray of light shot down. In an instant, the light passed through the sky and landed on the ground. A 100-meter-wide circle of light appeared on the ground, and a mysterious array altar appeared. The array altar was built according to the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams. The light circle activated the array altar, and it began to emit waves of light. Sir Lingtian, wait for us at the bottom of the 9th mountain peak after we enter. The array altar lit up, and countless experts walked up one by one. Every expert who went up carried a wood elemental pearl. As soon as it went up, it was swallowed by the light and disappeared. At this moment, Nanming transmitted his voiceover. From his tone, it seemed like he knew quite a bit about the inside. Don't worry, Sir Nanming. Li Lingtian sent a voice transmission over. When he looked at the spot again after his voice faded, Nanming had long disappeared. He had no idea where he had gone to, and he was nowhere to be seen on the array altar. You guys go back first. I'll protect the princess. The 8th level Martial Royal Realm young man behind Shunmei said to the 4 Martial Royal Realm experts. Since the princess wanted to enter, they could only protect her. Moreover, he did not dare to report to the queen's palace. This was also the princess's order. 8th Commander, 1 foot 11 inches, leave the princess to you. Our lives are in your hands. The 4 martial emperors said seriously with bitter smiles on their faces. A girl from the warrior spirit realm was courting death by entering the ancient cave mansion. If anything happened to the princess, their lives would be in danger. Don't tell anyone about my whereabouts. After Shunmei finished speaking, her body flashed and she flew down. In the blink of an eye, she had entered the array altar. When she entered the array altar, she intentionally glanced at Li Lingtian. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Countless martial artists entered the array altar. In a moment, the 7 stars' alignment gradually shifted, and the light on the array altar gradually weakened. When Li Lingtian saw that there were no more warriors entering, his body flashed and he disappeared mysteriously. When he reappeared, he was already on the array altar. The moment Li Lingtian entered the array altar, the wood elemental pearl trembled for a moment before it swallowed him. It was as if he had entered a space-time tunnel. In 3 seconds his body trembled and he left the space-time tunnel. He appeared on a flat ground. There were countless martial artists here, and this teleportation array was a fixed direction. When he was sent out, everyone was together. However, Shunmei and the 8th commander were nowhere to be seen. Li Lingtian glanced around and pondered for a moment before he quickly ran in a certain direction. The 9th mountain peak was a completely different world. The so-called ancient cave dwelling seemed to be an independent space built in the soliciting moon mountains. Thousands of martial artists came in, but after dispersing, not many could be seen. When Li Lingtian arrived at the 9th mountain peak, there were already 5 warriors waiting there. Among the 5 martial artists, 4 were at the 3rd level of the martial emperor realm, and 1 was at the 4th level. The heaven-breaking pavilion is here. Nanming returned to his original appearance without hiding anything. He smiled when he saw Li Lingtian's arrival. Sir Nanming. Li Lingtian looked at the Nanming alchemist indifferently. He had mentioned 3 before, but now there was 1 more. Naturally, he had to ask. Oh, let me introduce you. This is Sir Lin Xiao, this is Sir Lu Yu, and this is Sir Jiang Wei. This is His Excellency Gu Lanqing. He just joined us when we were outside. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Li Lingtian the alchemist. He's extremely skilled in alchemy and possesses great strength. Alchemist Nanming introduced the few martial emperors to Li Lingtian before he introduced Li Lingtian to the other 4 martial emperors. Greetings, sirs. Li Lingtian smiled and greeted the few martial emperors with a fist salute. The few martial emperors were polite and did not look down on Li Lingtian despite his lack of cultivation. On the contrary, they looked solemn. In front of a martial emperor, he could not see through the other party's cultivation. Either he had cultivated a magical cultivation method, or his strength was terrifying. No matter what, this young man could not be provoked casually. Moreover, he had come here to join forces to search for treasures. Let's go. After a brief greeting, alchemist Nanming led Li Lingtian and the others away. This ancient cave abode was called a cave abode, but this place was also a paradise, a place where mighty experts cultivated. No one knew how big this place was. Li Lingtian did not know what the Nanming alchemist was capable of to be so familiar with this place. The group of people didn't say anything and kept flying with alchemist Nanming. After flying for an entire day, the Nanming alchemist's face turned grave. Sir Nanming, what's wrong? Lin Xiao asked indifferently when he saw Nanming stop. His face revealed an excited expression, thinking that he had arrived. However, Nanming's next words stunned them, and a faint bitter smile appeared on their faces. In front there are silver bugs, grade 4 silver bugs. Nanming said indifferently as he looked at the few martial artists beside him. A silver insect, a 4th stage silver insect. What's there to be afraid of? We're all martial emperors. Jiang Wei asked in confusion. Among them, he was the only one who didn't recognize the silver insects. Otherwise it wouldn't be so easy. The 4th-tier silver bugs aren't that scary. The main thing is that silver bugs are group creatures. There are hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of them. Silver bugs reproduce very quickly. If we get the silver bug king, we can reproduce tens of thousands of silver bugs in a year. Moreover, silver bugs rely on the flesh and blood of their own kind to increase their cultivation. The newly born silver bugs are already at level 2. In a year they can advance to level 3. If they increase their level later on, that terror is beyond our imagination. Naming alchemist said seriously. Then they carefully extended their divine senses out, but they did not find any silver bugs. Li Lingtian was shocked as well. Tier 4 was not scary, but a large group of Tier 4 was. Tier 4 was equivalent to a martial arts grandmaster. If hundreds of martial arts grandmasters attacked you, you would definitely die. I wonder if anyone has any way to deal with these silver bugs. Furthermore, there are a few more dangerous passes ahead. After you've dealt with this one, you can rest in the next place. Alchemist Nanming said earnestly as he looked at Li Lingtian and the others. Li Lingtian was puzzled. This Nanming was so familiar with this place that it was as if it was his backyard. Although there was no sign of the silver malicious insects, Li Lingtian believed that Nanming would not speak nonsense. Cece. Those who were initially suspicious had their expressions changed drastically when they heard the voice in the air. A silver object pressed down from the sky, and it carried a shocking pressure. Silver bugs, tens of thousands of silver bugs. The few of them were shocked, and the expressions on their faces became fearful. Tens of thousands of 4th-grade silver insects, let alone martial emperors, even martial honors would find it difficult to deal with. Over 10,000 silver bugs, each of them was the size of a fist, and their entire bodies were silver. The silver insects immediately blocked the sky within a 100-meter radius, as they quickly flew toward Li Lingtian and the others. Attack! Blazing flame explosion. Flame gold annihilation. Boundless moon slash. Flaming divine fist. Ice sealing sword rain. Earth burst. The 6 of them were shocked when they saw tens of thousands of silver bugs flying over. They began to attack the silver bugs with their own attacks. A shocking explosion sounded in the air, but these silver bugs were all martial ancestor level, so they could only kill 1 or 2 at a time. Instantly, the 6 of them were surrounded by tens of thousands of silver bugs. Rumble! Explosions rang out, but such an attack was not worth mentioning at all. There were too many silver bugs. Heaven and earth burning. Li Lingtian cast the true dragon body barrier, and the light shield of the true dragon body barrier temporarily kept the silver malicious worms outside. He circulated the vital essence in his body, and used the heaven and earth conflagration. Immediately, a flame with a radius of 10 meters shot into the sky. Countless silver bugs were turned into ashes, but there were simply no end to the tens of thousands of silver bugs. Moreover, there was another terrifying thing. The protective shields of the other martial monarch experts could not withstand the attacks of the silver bugs at all. The silver bug completely ignored the martial monarch's protective shield. However, they were shocked to see that Li Lingtian's defense could withstand the silver malicious worms. Li Lingtian was well aware that he had cultivated the true dragon's body barrier, which allowed him to withstand the attacks of a 5 princes powerhouse. Furthermore, the dragon energy was extremely mysterious and demonic beasts could not pose a threat to it. The 5 martial emperors could only kill a few silver bugs each time, but they had to face the attacks of countless silver bugs. As long as they were bitten, they would be drowned in the blink of an eye. Be careful, I'll handle this place. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment. He was the only one who could deal with the silver malicious insects in this place. The few skills he cultivated all had group attacks. Ice Vitality Divine Fist, Icebound 1,000 miles. His body exuded a frightening chill, and the space around him seemed to have frozen. At the same time, Li Lingtian slammed his fist into the ground and a 1-mile-wide glacier appeared. The 5 martial monarchs and all the silver bugs were turned into ice sculptures. Li Lingtian's ice sculpture did not have much effect on the 5 monarchs, but the 5 martial monarchs did not dare to break the ice sculpture. If they did, they would be attacked by the silver bugs. 11. Recommend the new book. Ancient Sage Myriad Ancient King. I welcome everyone to read and save it. I also want to vote for it. The new book needs everyone's support. Only with everyone's support can the new book go further. Chapter 235 Chapter 235 Heavenly Toad 1. Chapter 235 Heavenly Toad 1. However, what Li Lingtian did not expect was that his Tier 3 martial arts Grandmaster Ice Vitality Divine Fist could freeze a Tier 9 martial arts Grandmaster at least. However, he did not expect to be instantly broken through by these Tier 4 Level 1 silver bugs. Crash! The 1-mile-wide glacier was shattered into pieces. 5 martial emperors emerged once again, and the tens of thousands of silver malicious beetles did not pause for even a moment before they flew toward Li Lingtian and the others in an overwhelming manner. All. In the blink of an eye, Lu Yu was bitten by hundreds of silver bugs. His clothes and flesh were devoured. As the Zhenyuan flowed out rapidly, more silver bugs smelled the blood. In the blink of an eye, 1/3 of the silver bugs had arrived on Lu Yu's body. Screams and a final cry. The 3rd-level martial emperor was swallowed just like that. There was not even a bone left. Li Lingtian and the others nearly vomited when they saw this. They were shocked and terrified. You guys go first, I will confine them for a while. Li Lingtian could not care less when he saw the situation before him. If these people were all dead, he would have wasted his trip. After saying that, he extended his hand, and the Ice River Split appeared in his hand. The Ice River Split was obtained from the Ice Dragon Hall, and it was also a saint artifact. The Ice Saint weapon was extremely powerful. Li Lingtian's Ice Soul Martial Soul rarely used this saint weapon. He waved his hand and the entire space froze. Snow fell from the sky, and glaciers formed in the blink of an eye. When the glacier was formed, the remaining 4 Force Emperors were also frozen. This time they were truly frozen. Even a martial emperor would not be able to break free, and tens of thousands of silver bugs were naturally frozen inside. Let's go! Li Lingtian shouted loudly. Although the glacier was powerful, the glacier began to tremble rapidly as tens of thousands of silver insects continued to devour it. If this continued, the glacier would not be able to hold on for long. Lin Xiao and the rest were grateful to Li Lingtian for letting them leave at this time. They could not understand this young man. Rumble! After a series of explosions, the glacier beside the 4 Force Emperors loosened. Seizing this opportunity, the 4 Force Emperors dashed forward without any hesitation. In the blink of an eye they were miles away. Ice Flame! Li Lingtian smiled as he watched the 4 martial emperors leave. With one hand and one body, a ball of icy frost flame appeared. The appearance of the icy frost flame instantly turned the glacier into a terrifying sight. Tens of thousands of silver bugs also let out terrified cries, as if they had seen their nemesis. Yes. The Heaven and Earth Creation Cauldron was activated. A mysterious light flashed and then the 10 largest silver bugs were kept inside. These silver bugs were different from the others because their auras were different from the others. Moreover, all the silver bugs showed traces of fear when they encountered these silver bugs. It was obvious that these silver bugs were the kings of these silver bugs. As long as they were captured, they could reproduce countless silver bugs in the future. Ice River Split Destruction. After he was done, he waved Glacier's rift in his hand and the glacier that was on the verge of collapsing solidified once again. It was at this moment that the thunderclap wings appeared on Li Lingtian's shoulder, and he disappeared into the glacier. When he reappeared, he was already 20 miles away. He used his soul consciousness to search and found that 4 martial emperors were flying non-stop. It was obvious that they were scared of the silver bugs. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After a short while, Li Lingtian landed and sent a voice transmission to Nanming who was in front of him. Sir Nanming, wait. Li Lingtian's face was filled with shock as he kept his thunderclap wings. He did not want these people to see his strength. In such a place, hiding a portion of his strength was beneficial to him. Sir Lingtian, how is it? Upon hearing Li Lingtian's voice transmission, the alchemist Nanming and the rest stopped in their tracks. When they saw Li Lingtian catching up to them, they were puzzled as they wondered what had happened to the terrifying silver malicious worms. And these ugly silver insects are really despicable. They destroyed one of my treasures. I barely managed to escape, but I almost lost my life. Li Lingtian's face was filled with fear, leaving the few martial emperors with no doubt. Lu Yu, who was a Tier 3 martial emperor, had disappeared in the blink of an eye. They had also experienced the power of the silver malicious worm. If Li Lingtian was not injured and scared, they would have been shocked. Sir Lingtian, recuperate first. There's Tianchan in front, a Tier 5, Tier 6 Tianchan. Everyone be careful. Nanming took a glance at Li Lingtian and took out a jade slip from his storage pouch. He began to read it before he spoke in a serious tone. A level 5, level 6 heavenly toad was equivalent to a level 6 martial emperor. Moreover, this heavenly toad was also highly toxic, and any martial artist who came into contact with it would turn into blood. Even a martial royal realm expert would not dare to provoke them easily. He did not expect that there would be such a thing blocking his way. Sir Nanming, can't you take a detour? Lin Xiao asked in confusion. The silver malicious beetles were flying demonic beasts, and they came in groups. They couldn't be dodged even if they wanted to. However, the heavenly toad was only a demonic beast, so it could naturally take a detour. Li Lingtian and the others were also looking at Nanming, waiting for his explanation. This was a place that Nanming was most familiar with. You may not know this, but the path behind that heavenly toad is the only way. Moreover, only after killing heavenly toad can you enter. It is also a shortcut to enter the ancient cave mansion. Nanming revealed a bitter smile and explained the reason for the matter. Immediately, everyone had an expression of understanding. Since that's the case, there's no other way. 2. Yeah, let's go and take a look. Level 5, level 6. As long as the few of us work together, one believe there won't be any problem. Jiang Wei and Lin Xiao nodded their heads as they spoke. Only Gu Lanqing remained silent. Li Lingtian did not meditate and rest. Instead, he followed the group, and within 10 minutes, they arrived at a huge canyon. There were cliffs on both sides, and the canyon was only 30 meters wide. In such a place, if there were demon beasts blocking the way, they could only fight head-on. Coo-coo! Coo-coo! Muffled sounds rang out, sounding like thunder. The 5 of them looked ahead and saw a 3-meter-long toad in the middle. Terrifying demonic power erupted from its body, and not a single blade of grass grew around the toad. A faint mist drifted out. Wherever this mist passed, even the rocks melted. Be careful, it's poisonous fog. Gu Lanqing shouted loudly as he retreated in a flash. Li Lingtian was at the back. Since he had already dealt with the silver insect alone, he would not be allowed to do anything now. With a wave of his hand, the true dragon barrier was activated. A faint light barrier blocked the poisonous fog outside. He had also discovered the benefits of the true dragon chi now. Demonic beasts and poisonous creatures had no effect on him at all. The toad did not catch up to them after they retreated 100 meters. Then they walked forward again. However, when they were 10 meters away from the toad exploded with a shocking poisonous fog and made a cooing sound as if it was demonstrating its power. They looked at the toad and then at the cave behind it. It seemed that they had to kill the toad before they could enter. Do it! Gu Lanqing said loudly. After that, a huge axe fell into the distance. Nanming, Lin Xiao and Jiang Wei, the 4 martial emperors, all unleashed their powerful attacks. Instantly, a series of shocking explosions erupted in the canyon. Li Lingtian was meditating and resting at the side. The 4 martial emperors did not say anything. After all, they had already agreed at the beginning that as long as the first stage was resolved, there was no need for them to do anything else. Rumble! With the last explosion, the 5th and 6th level sky toad died. The ground was covered in dark green blood. An inner core and a pitch-black poison gall appeared in everyone's sight. Li Lingtian had just finished his meditation. He looked at the poison gall on the ground with an excited expression. The poison gall might not be useful to others, but it was very useful to him. I want this poison gall. It should be good for refining medicinal pills. Brother Gu, the 3 of you handle the inner core. Nanming said. His spirit alchemist was naturally determined to get this poison gall. Moreover, it was useless for the other martial emperors to come. Li Lingtian smiled to himself without showing any change in his expression. Soon, the three of them finished processing the materials and inner core of the heavenly toad. Alright, let's go in now. There shouldn't be any threats. It'll depend on Sir Lingtian's ability now. Nanming chuckled and took the lead to walk into the cave. Gu Lanqing's face froze for a moment before he followed suit. Li Lingtian, Jiang Wei, and Lin Xiao followed closely behind. Since they had come this far, they could not possibly return empty-handed. Li Lingtian grew increasingly wary as he had a bad feeling about Nanming. Although he was a Tier 3 martial emperor, he was too familiar with this place. This was puzzling. Moreover, the others didn't say it because they didn't know his strength, but Nanming knew. He had a level 5 level 8 silver-wing flying dragon, multicolored beast, and jade-eyed beast. With such strength, no martial artist would invite an expert who was stronger than them to take the risk. Yet he came to find him. This was what he did not understand the most. After entering the cave, the flash wasn't big. There was an endless passage inside which was dark and damp. Moreover, looking at this passageway, it was obvious that it was opened up by martial artists. It was unknown how many tens of thousands of years this passageway had been opened up. It was covered in moss. After walking for more than 10 minutes, the five of them finally arrived at a stone room that was not small. There was nothing in the stone room. The only thing that could be seen was a huge stone door. On the stone door, there were magical beasts carved on it, and there were countless arrays on it. Upon seeing this, the few of them were excited. However, Li Lingtian noticed that Nanming's expression was calm and devoid of any emotion. 2. Sir Lingtian, you're the only one who understands array formations in this place. Thank you for your hard work, Sir Lingtian. Nanming said indifferently, his eyes staring at the monsters on the stone door. Chapter 236 Chapter 236 Heaven Grade Divine Ability. Chapter 236 Heaven Grade Divine Ability. Let me take a look first. Li Lingtian stepped forward and scrutinized the stone door. This stone door was filled with demon beasts and array formations. For a moment, it was impossible to tell what array formation it was. What puzzled him even more was that the array on this stone door was completely different from the array he knew. Even though he had only recently understood the array Tao, he knew about the divine array diagram, the 10 great ancient divine arrays, the ancient forbidden arrays, and countless other arrays. However, there was no way to deal with the array on the stone door. He did not know what array it was. Moreover, this array was very crude. They were all arrays below heaven grade. However, there were too many of them. As an array master, he naturally would not easily touch an array that he did not recognize. Nanming and the others were extremely worried when they saw the change in Li Lingtian's expression. They had already come to this place. If they could not enter, they would not be able to finish thinking about it. Could it be a devil formation? No, the demonic array needs demonic chi to operate. Demon formation. It really is a demonic formation. Li Lingtian ignored the others and continued to observe the array formation as he thought to himself. In the end, his face revealed a happy expression. As long as he knew the attributes of this array, it would be easy. At least he had a direction to crack it. Following that, Li Lingtian displayed the divine array diagram and waved his hands continuously with a serious expression on his face. It was his first time cracking the demon array and he had no confidence at all. Rustle, rustle. Rustling sounds kept coming from the stone door. The few martial emperors were staring at the stone door with extremely nervous faces, as if they were trying to crack the formation. However, Li Lingtian had a faint smile on his face as if he was enjoying the array. I see. Li Lingtian's heart was in shock and the look of enjoyment on his face disappeared. His expression turned extremely ugly as he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His body was also thrown into the air, before he finally slammed into the stone room's wall. Blood kept flowing out of the corner of his mouth, but he was extremely excited. Sir Lingtian. The four martial emperors were shocked. They did not know much about arrays, but they knew that Li Lingtian was not a simple person to be injured by the array despite his strength. It's fine. Don't worry. I've already found a way to break it. Li Lingtian sat cross-legged and meditated after he finished speaking. He tossed a pill into his mouth and began to recuperate. However, he was excited because he realized that the stone door was not completely covered in an array, but a skill. Those arrays were only used to hide the heaven-grade divine power skill. He did not expect that a divine ability would appear in the soliciting moon mountains. Skills and cultivation techniques above the heaven rank were already divine power skills. There was no need to explain how powerful divine powers were. They were no longer within the scope of skills. There was a divine power skill hidden on the stone door of an ancient cave abode. No one knew what treasure was inside. However, it was not that simple to take away this divine power skill. This was because this skill was integrated into the array formation. When the array formation was broken, the divine power skill would disappear. In other words, he had to remember the divine power skill before the array formation was broken. 20 minutes later, Li Lingtian opened his eyes again and slowly stood up. When the four of them saw that Li Lingtian was done recuperating, they were all filled with anticipation. If we want to break this array, we must gather the strength of the five of us. You must stabilize my true qi so that one can enter the array and break it. Li Lingtian spoke in a serious tone as he kept his eyes fixed on the stone door. All right, that's not a problem. I will definitely do my best. That's it. As long as Sir Lingtian breaks this formation, leave the matters inside to us. The four of them nodded and unleashed their true essence to suppress Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian activated his cultivation method and absorbed the four men's primordial qi. This way, he did not have to expend his own primordial qi. The divine array diagram was displayed once again, and there was a path to it. Now he just needed to carefully memorize the divine arts inside. Even if he could not obtain the treasure inside, he would not regret it because obtaining this skill was a shocking treasure. Divine abilities were extremely rare in the divine martial continent. Usually, only some powerful super experts could master a divine ability skill. The so-called divine powers were the same as the attributes of martial artists. Everyone only had one or two divine powers. Very soon, the place where the array formation started again had learned its lesson from before, so it was also very careful to crack it. Silver characters were transmitted into his mind. In his mind, these characters were continuously connected together, forming a magical spell. Yes! With a soft shout, the four martial emperors retracted their primordial qi. Li Lingtian's body swayed and the divine array diagram swayed as he pointed a spell at it. Immediately, the divine array diagram flashed with a dazzling light. The light bombarded the stone door. With a muffled sound, the stone door opened. A large hall appeared in their line of sight, and Nanming excitedly flashed in. Li Lingtian recuperated a little before he walked in. There were traps everywhere. There were also some formations of different sizes. However, they were all martial monarch realm experts. Even if they did not understand formations, they could still dodge the attacks of formations. When they asked around, they found nothing inside. The five of them revealed disappointed expressions. However, when they saw that there were rooms inside, they felt a little better. Following that, the five of them began to search. However, after searching 5 or 6 rooms, they did not find a single item. There was not even a single spirit stone, let alone a treasure. Gotcha! At this moment, Lin Xiao accidentally triggered a mechanism. The appearance of the mechanism caused the 5 of them to feel as if their world had turned upside down. When he reappeared, he was already in a room with a radius of 50 square meters. The furnishings in the room were simple. There was a stone bed, a stone table, and a stone bench. Other than these simple furnishings, there were no other items. It should be here. How is that possible? Where is it? At this moment, Nanming's face revealed a crazed look. It was as if his treasure had disappeared, and he was searching everywhere. Li Lingtian and the other 3 were puzzled by Nanming's behavior and began to doubt themselves. Alchemist Nanming looked like he was too familiar with this place, as if he had long known that there was a treasure here. Gotcha! An exquisite box popped out from the ground. After the box appeared, it floated in the room and immediately attracted the attention of the 5 people. For a box to appear in such a place, it was naturally inseparable from a treasure. For a moment, the five of them stared at the box in a daze, not knowing what was inside. There was naturally a problem with five people sharing a box. No one dared to make a move first because if they did, they would be attacked by the others. After a long time, the five of them knew that this was not a solution. "I'll open this box first," Gu Lanqing said seriously. "We'll split the treasures inside equally. How about that?" "All right." Li Lingtian was the first to agree. Gu Lanqing was much better than Nan Ming in opening the box. Lin Xiao and Jiang Wei could only agree. Then Gu Lanqing carefully grabbed the box and opened it. Instantly an ancient aura erupted, and their eyes lit up. There were a total of 7 items in a foot-long box. There were 2 jade slips, 2 short swords, a battle axe, a bell, and a green pearl. He didn't know what the jade slip was, nor did he know what the green bead was. However, the battle axe, the short sword, and the bell were all emitting a shocking pressure. Heaven artifacts, they were definitely heaven artifacts. Only heaven artifacts could have such pressure. For a moment, the 5 of them stared at the box, and the atmosphere was strange and oppressive. "I'm the one leading the way here. One want to obtain 2 items." Naming's words stunned Li Lingtian and the other 3. The atmosphere in the room grew increasingly oppressive. No matter how good their relationship was, when it came to benefits, they would not give in. Of the 7 items, each person had to split 2 of them. In other words, at least 2 people could only get one. Such a treasure was rarely seen in the divine martial continent. Naturally, they would not give it up so easily. "Since Sir Nanming wants 2, how about I take 2? I trust that none of you will object to my choice. One only want 2 jade slips. I am an alchemist, and it is obvious that I am not going overboard with the pill formulas of 2 jade slips." Li Lingtian chimed in as well. After that, he turned to Lin Xiao and Jiang Wei before finally shifting his gaze to Gu Lanqing and Nanming. "Sir Lingtian, one have no objections if you choose 2 items, but you can't choose a weapon." Lin Xiao was stunned for a moment before he understood. Li Lingtian was an alchemist and an array master. Naturally, he needed the pill formula. Moreover, Li Lingtian had contributed the most. In this way, he would be doing her a favor by agreeing. "That's right. If Sir Lingtian chooses 2 jade slips, I have nothing to say." Seeing Lin Xiao agree so easily, Jiang Wei felt a little puzzled. However, how could an old monster like him not understand the logic behind it? He immediately agreed. "Sir Lingtian, have you forgotten that I'm also a spirit pill master? Aren't you going against me by asking for 2 items? Nanming did not expect Li Lingtian, who had always been friendly, to stand up for him. Although he did not object, it was obvious that he felt bad for him. "Haha, Sir Nanming, you are a spirit alchemist. How about this, one will choose a jade slip and a weapon. You can ask them if they agree. If they agree, one don't mind." Li Lingtian laughed out loud. He did not know if the 2 jade slips contained a pill formula or a cultivation technique. Such an uncertain item was naturally not as valuable as a heaven artifact. Heaven artifacts were already heaven-defying treasures. As long as he obtained one, he could increase his strength by a large margin. With that said, he turned to look at the few martial emperors. Gu Lanqing remained silent while Jiang Wei and Lin Xiao objected. Naturally, they would not agree to Li Lingtian's choice of treasure. Chapter 237 Chapter 237 Dividing the Treasures. Chapter 237 Dividing the Treasures. Since neither of you agree, Sir Nanming, how do you think we should split the treasures in this box? Li Lingtian's smile remained on his face, but he glared at the Nanming alchemist. He had plenty of weapons and treasures. Heaven artifacts might seem like treasures to others, but he didn't need them. However, he liked the pill formula. With Nanming alchemist's alchemy cultivation, a 5th-grade pill was already at most. Sir Lingtian wants 2 jade slips? That's not good, right? Why don't we look through both jade slips? If both jade slips contain pill formulas, we'll each take one. If there's only one pill formula, we'll draw lots. How about that? Nanming didn't know how to distribute it, but he was worried that the 2 jade slips were magical pill recipes. Following that, he revealed his plan. Fai only mentioned how he and Li Lingtian would split the jade slips. He did not mention the other ways of splitting the jade slips. Haha, Sir Nanming, you really have a good idea. I asked for 2 jade slips when I didn't know the situation. If I knew what was inside, would one still choose the jade slip? This one doesn't want the jade slips. Tier 5 pills are already my limit. One don't know what's inside these 2 jade slips, so you can take them. I'll just choose a heaven artifact. Li Lingtian waved his hand in his sleeve. A hint of anger appeared on his face. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Li Lingtian was angry. Moreover, Li Lingtian's words were reasonable. Li Lingtian was already at a disadvantage when he chose the jade slip without knowing what it was. Nanming was actually making things difficult for him. Even a clay man would be angry. One choose a heaven artifact. I will also choose a heaven artifact. Heaven artifact, one is enough. He didn't expect Gulanqing to also choose a heaven artifact, which puzzled Nanming. In this way, the 4 of them had chosen 4 heaven artifacts, leaving only 1 green pearl. The heaven artifact had been divided up, leaving only a green bead. He was about to miss out on the heaven artifact. Wasn't he at a loss this time? For heaven artifacts. Since you've chosen them, I've come for nothing. Nanming's expression turned ugly. He didn't know what was inside the 2 jade slips. If he chose the 2 jade slips like this, it wouldn't count. Sir Lingtian chose 2 jade slips, but he didn't say anything. Lin Xiao looked at Nanming. Apart from Gulanqing, who was a Tier 4 martial emperor, the rest were all Tier 3 martial emperors. Naturally, he was not worried that Nanming would play any tricks. Forget it, I don't want the treasure anymore. You guys can split it among yourselves. With a wave of his hand, Li Lingtian unleashed the divine array diagram. A ray of light appeared and the entire room was instantly enveloped in its radiance. A phantom image of an array altar appeared in the room, causing Lin Xiao and the others to be confused. She wondered why Li Lingtian did not want the treasure anymore. Was he joking? However, they soon realized that there was no exit in the room and there was no way out. As an array master, Li Lingtian could naturally leave as he pleased. They were just trapped inside. Since Sir Lingtian doesn't want the treasure, I don't want this treasure either. Consider this a tour. Sir Lingtian, please send me out. Jiang Wei smiled, but he smiled bitterly in his heart. He didn't expect such a situation to happen. If it was anywhere else, he would never make such a decision. In this room, if there was no exit, he would be trapped to death even if he obtained the treasure. Sir Lingtian, why are you angry? I was only joking with you. It's just 2 jade slips. Sir Lingtian is still at a disadvantage. How about this? I'll give this green pearl to Sir Lingtian as well. How about it, the 3 of you? A murderous intent flashed in Nanming's heart. However, the current situation was disadvantageous to him. If Li Lingtian left just like that, he would have to stay here. I'll let you be arrogant first, but all your treasures are mine. Nanming had a smile on his face as he cursed in his heart. Then he looked at Jiang Wei and the other 2. All right, that's it. Sir Lingtian has contributed the most, so I have no objections. Sir Nanming, good idea. Although Jiang Wei and the other 2 didn't agree, they thought that no matter how they split the green bead, it would never be given to them. The chances of it falling into Nanming's hands were higher. Since Nanming was willing to take it out, he had nothing to say. Li Lingtian did not say anything. With one hand and one body, he grabbed the 2 jade slips and the green bead from afar. Without any intention of checking them, he put them into his storage pouch. Jiang Wei and Lin Xiao chose the short sword, Nanming chose the bell, and Gulanqing chose the battle axe. Let's go, Li Lingtian said as he looked at Gulanqing. It's time to leave. Sir Lingtian, please send us out, Lin Xiao said. Obtaining a heaven artifact was already considered good. He had originally used a lower-grade emperor artifact, but now it was a heaven artifact. With such a treasure, his strength would increase by an unknown amount. You don't need my help. Brother Gu, just put the box back to its original place. Li Lingtian said calmly while his eyes were still fixed on Gulanqing. This place was obviously a trap. There was no need for a formation. The only way out was this box. The treasure in the box was gone. However, the box could activate the mechanism here. Although it was only a guess, it was worth a try. Naming's face turned cold when Li Lingtian finished speaking. Why did he not think of this? He had actually given away the 3 items. Gotcha. Gu Lanqing was slightly stunned. He tried to put the box back to its original place. Suddenly, a cracking sound was heard. Everyone felt dizzy. A huge force pulled them up, and the entire stone room seemed to be spinning. Boom! 5 seconds later, there was a loud explosion and the box exploded. Li Lingtian's expression changed drastically as he activated his true dragon body barrier with his divine consciousness. He also placed the ice and fire ring in front of him. A terrifying force blasted the 5 of them away. When they reappeared, they were already on a mountain range. A mouthful of blood spurted out. By the time Li Lingtian realized what was going on, he was already in midair and had been sent flying by the force. Borrowing the force of the impact, he used the thunderclap wings and his body strangely disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already 20 miles away. Nanming and the other 3 landed and noticed that Li Lingtian had disappeared. Their expressions were ugly. Li Lingtian's body kept flashing as he did not know where to go. After flying for half an hour, he spat out another mouthful of blood. He was struck by a force without any defense, which shocked him. He scanned the surroundings with his divine sense and finally found a cave where he could stay. His body flashed and he entered. He cast a few formations at the entrance of the cave and the entrance disappeared. After doing everything, he began to regulate his breathing. In an unknown and unfamiliar place, he had to recover from his injuries and recover his energy to the best state to deal with all unknown dangers. In the cave, Li Lingtian did not bother to look at the jade slips and beads. Instead, he focused on recuperating his injuries. 2 days passed. 2 days later, he left the cave, chose a direction, and flew on his sword at a moderate speed. On the 5th day after entering the ancient cave dwelling, Shun Mei-er and Wei Tian were looking for something aimlessly. "Little princess, this place is filled with danger. One think we should find a place to rest. When the time is up, we'll leave. Little princess doesn't lack anything at all." Wei Tian felt extremely depressed. As the 8th commander, he actually had to accompany this little princess to wander around this dangerous place. Shun Mei-er was the little princess of the queen's palace. She had everything she wanted. If she wanted something, someone would find it with just a word. There was no need for her to take the risk in the ancient cave abode in the soliciting Moon Mountains. It seemed that the little princess had come to play these past few days and not to look for any treasures. However, he was depressed. There were countless experts here. There were several Type 8 experts and there were even Type 9 experts. If he was alone, it would be fine. However, if he brought the little princess along, if he was not careful and the little princess was injured or killed, his entire family would be wiped out. "You don't want to come? Then go back. One didn't ask you to come." Shun Mei-er's face no longer had a hint of coquettish charm. Instead, her face was pure and innocent. But now, her face was filled with impatience. It had been a few days, but she had not seen the person she wanted to see. "Little princess, please forgive me. I'm just worried about your safety." When Wei Tian heard this, he immediately felt bad. If this little princess complained, he would be finished. Therefore, he quickly smiled apologetically. He did not dare to provoke this little princess. Even if he died, he could not make this little princess unhappy. "Hehe, you don't have to worry about your little princess' safety. I'll protect her." At this moment, a sinister laugh was heard, and the entire lawn shook with the sound. Wei Tian and Shun Mei-er were both shocked. They did not think that someone would dare to be so rude even after knowing their identity. "Who is it? Get out!" Wei Tian roared as he circulated his true qi and scanned his surroundings with his divine sense. However, he could not find a single shadow. He did not even see a single demonic beast, let alone a person. When he realized this, he felt even more troubled. "Hehe, the old man is coming out now. You can get lost. 1 foot 11 inches protect the little girl, Little girl, don't worry. I'll make you want to die later." The sinister laughter appeared again, but when the voice fell, a figure appeared in the void. Wei Tian saw the figure in the sky and felt that something was wrong. Old monster Tianming was a womanizer and had a notorious reputation. It seemed like he had his eyes on the little princess. The little princess was peerlessly beautiful, and all the men in the world were tempted. When this old man saw the little princess, he naturally had his attention on the little princess. Shun Mei'er was also frightened. Although her cultivation was low, she had heard of this old man's bad reputation. He was like a beggar. Any woman would be disgusted by this old man. However, this old man's strength was terrifying. He was invincible among rank 8 experts. Even Wei Tian was not his match. He was finished this time. The fear in his heart grew. If he fell into the hands of this old man, he might as well die. Chapter 238 Chapter 238 The Power to Destroy the Army, the Destruction of Heaven and Earth. Chapter 238 The Power to Destroy the Army, the Destruction of Heaven and Earth. Old monster Tung, how dare you be so rude to the little princess? Aren't you afraid of extracting her soul? Wei Tian saw that old monster Tianming had actually said such words in front of him. This was the little princess of the queen's palace, and someone in the Azure continent actually dared to covet the little princess. He was truly courting death. He felt a deep sense of fear towards old monster Tianming. However, when he thought of the queen's palace's reputation, he believed that old monster Tianming would also feel fear. Moreover, no matter how powerful old monster Tianming was, he might not be able to kill him. If he did not die, old monster Tianming would be hunted down by the queen's palace even if he fled to the ends of the earth. Haha, queen's palace, this old man is also very afraid. However, if I kill you here, this little girl will. Who else knows who captured the little girl? You can die now. Old monster Tianming laughed sinisterly as if Wei Tian was already dead. Old monster Tianming, is it possible for you to kill me? Wei Tian and Shun Mei'er were both terrified. If they were really ambushed here, the people outside would not know who did it. Shun Mei'er felt a tinge of regret. She shouldn't have entered this place. Now that she had encountered such a situation, she didn't pay any attention to it. In the outside world, no one could provoke her. Moreover, she was surrounded by countless proud sons of heaven. However, she had never thought that such a day would come. Well, no, once we try. After old monster Tianming finished speaking, his terrifying true energy caused the world to tremble. A shocking true energy attack smashed down on Wei Tian. The power of true essence was firm and fierce without losing its femininity. This was also the power after he plucked it. It had his firm and fierce power, but also the woman's femininity. The world trembled and space was torn apart. Light of the Oracle. Wei Tian was shocked. He did not think that old monster Tianming would have the guts to do so. He did not dare to be the slightest bit careless in this attack. The first thing he did was use the Light of Oracle. This was a forbidden technique that was equivalent to a martial emperor. He knew his own strength. Even if the little princess wasn't here, he wouldn't be a match for old monster Tianming. However, now that the little princess was here, he didn't dare to be careless. Rumble! With a loud explosion, Wei Tian's body was thrown into the air and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Die! Old monster Tianming did not stop at all. Another destructive attack smashed down ruthlessly. Since he had made a move, he could not show any mercy. Otherwise, it would be seen by outsiders and spread to the queen's palace. Ignore attacks. Wei Tian's face was filled with fear. This attack was enough to take his life. He had thought that he was no match for the old monster, but he had never expected the old monster to be so powerful. In his anxiety, he reversed his vital essence and used the martial emperor forbidden technique. A light circle met the attack in the air. Just as he used the forbidden technique that ignored attacks, his expression changed drastically. In the sky, a destructive attack erupted from the other side. Its power was even stronger than old monster Tianming's attack. The target of that attack was him. Even if he was a fool, he knew that old monster Tianming had already joined forces with others to scheme against him. No wonder he was so unscrupulous. Even if an outsider came, he would be killed. He and the little princess were doomed this time. Rumble! A shocking explosion sounded out. At the same time, the shocking attack behind him also struck Wei Tian. When an 8th-level martial emperor was injured and caught off guard, his body would be as weak as paper in the face of a sneak attack from an expert of the same level. Without a single scream, Wei Tian's body was torn apart. His entire body was covered in blood, and his face was pale as his life force gradually disappeared. Little princess, let's go. The power of the army destroyer can destroy everything. When Wei Tian's life force disappeared, he remembered that the little princess was still here. If the little princess was humiliated, he would not forgive himself even if he died. He burned the last of his life to unleash the destructive power of the army destroyer. Seeing Wei Tian die right in front of her, Shen Mei felt extremely upset. She had never shown any mercy to her subordinates before, but now someone had died to protect her. His body flashed quickly and he ran into the distance. However, no matter how fast a warrior spirit was, it was impossible for him to escape the destructive army-shattering power. Not good, quickly dodge. When old monster Tianming saw Wei Tian's counterattack before his death, he was shocked to death. Martial artists who used the army-destroying power would never be able to reincarnate, and its power would destroy the world. After saying that, his body flashed, but it was already too late. The army-destroying power swept across the world with a destructive power, destroying everything within a 5-kilometer radius. The old ghost Ming, who was hiding in the air, was also extremely shocked. His body flashed, but it was too late. 2. It's good to die. It's better than being humiliated. I know that you look down on me. It's just that Mei was born with a bewitching body, and she was born without control. However, if one die like this, my body will still be pure, and my body will belong to you alone. Seeing the destruction of the world, Shen Mei stopped. A beautiful smile appeared on her face, but there was a trace of regret in her smile. As she spoke to herself, her voice was drowned out by the destructive world. In her despairing eyes, a light shadow flashed. The light shadow was beyond the horizon. When she saw it clearly, the light shadow had already arrived in her line of sight. The light figure didn't hesitate at all and plunged into the destructive world. The light gradually became clear, and a graceful figure appeared. Her white clothes fluttered in the wind. When her body flashed again, she was already in front of him. This figure was like a nightmare in her heart. True dragon body protection. Creation of the heavens and earth. Divine array world. Shifting flowers to trees. Spatial imprisonment. The figure came before her with a comforting smile on her face. She waved her hands and a formation enveloped her. At the same time, a pill cauldron appeared. The pill cauldron emitted a mysterious light, and the light enveloped her. He also intentionally or unintentionally stood in front of her, protecting the two of them with a light shield. A banner kept changing and twisting, and the destructive power between heaven and earth shot in all directions. The figure in front of her wasn't imposing, but it gave her a sense of security. He had left all his defenses to her, and he was standing in front of her. Although the destruction of the world came from all directions, his subconscious reaction made her feel his intentions. Using a human body to block the destructive power for her. The entire process only took an instant. The destructive power between heaven and earth erupted and quickly spread hundreds of miles away. The body in front of her trembled and was about to hit her. However, this body forcefully took a step forward and collided with the destructive power. A blood mist dispersed, and the world gradually quieted down. The destructive power gradually disappeared. Endless gales raged, but this body slowly fell down. In the sky, 2 sounds of blood spurting rang out. Old monster Tianming and old ghost Ming both spat out a mouthful of blood. The two of them had completely turned into beggars, and their bodies were covered in blood. What a terrifying army-shattering power! Old monster Tianming looked into the distance in shock. He had just escaped quickly and forcefully used a forbidden technique at the last moment. He was lucky enough to escape, but he was also hit by the destructive power. His cultivation went by quickly, and his realm dropped to the 7th level of the martial emperor realm. All the meridians in his body were broken. The old ghost Yin Ming wasn't any better. His face was deathly pale, and he was extremely regretful. Old monster, hand over the Yin God Pearl. Old ghost Yin Ming looked at old monster Tian Ming. His losses this time were too great. 2. The Yin God Pearl. That girl is gone. Do you still want the Yin God Pearl? Is there such a good thing? Old monster Tian Ming said angrily. Are you going back on your word? My cultivation fell because of you. The disappearance of that little kid was not part of our deal. He's actually not dead yet. The old ghost Yin Ming was also furious, but in the end, he actually discovered that there was still an aura at the center of the explosion. This aura was completely unharmed and was not injured at all. No, there should be 2 of them. One of them had an extremely weak aura. Let's go take a look. If the little girl is still alive, I'll give you the Yin God Pearl. Also, if we leave like this, the Queen's palace will definitely hunt us down endlessly. Old monster Tian Ming also discovered the situation inside. He glanced at old ghost Yin Ming and said loudly. After saying that, he walked inside. His face was pale, his cultivation had fallen, and his injuries were extremely serious. However, he could not help himself now. How are you? Don't scare me. Why are you doing this? Is it worth it? You still have me in your heart. If you dare to die, I won't let you off even if I go to hell. Shun Mei looked at the elegant figure lying on the ground. He was not moving at all. The pain in his heart was as if it was being torn apart. He had never felt so uncomfortable before. However, she was covered by the array and the light that was about to dissipate. She could not move at all. She could only look at the man who was less than 2 meters away from her. The originally elegant figure now had traces of blood at the corner of his mouth. His face was pale, and he did not even know if he was dead or alive. Li Lingtian spat out a mouthful of blood as he opened his eyes weakly. There was not a single meridian in his body that was intact. He couldn't move his body at all. When he heard the voice behind him, a faint smile appeared on his face. However, it was so difficult to smile at this moment. Will you do this when you see me being destroyed? Li Lingtian spoke weakly. Every word he uttered tugged at his meridians and his face was filled with pain. One will protect you like you protect me. Shun Mei blurted out without any hesitation, and the tears on her face couldn't help but fall. Since you can do this, why can't I? Li Lingtian was extremely satisfied. With this, he would have no regrets even if he had to die. A satisfied smile appeared on her face, but it was difficult to smile. At this moment, Shun Mei finally felt that she had made the right decision to come here. She didn't regret it at all, because she had heard the words that she wanted to hear the most in this world. Hee 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 hee. A sinister laughter drifted over from the sky. The sinister laughter was very uncoordinated in this quiet environment. Shun Mei's face showed a trace of fear, and at the same time a trace of determination. Chapter 239 Chapter 239 Grade 7 Great Rejuvenation Pill. Chapter 239 Grade 7 Great Rejuvenation Pill. One don't regret it at all. In my next life, Mei will still be your woman. Shun Mei coldly looked at the 2 figures in the distance and said in a soft voice. Her voice was so soft that only the 2 of them could hear her. Little girl, you caused my cultivation to fall. When the time comes, I'll make you wish you were dead. Old monster Tian Ming revealed a vicious expression. The evil in his eyes became extremely terrifying, as if he wanted to devour the girl in front of him. You have designs on my woman. 10,000 deaths will not be enough to atone for your crime. I will exterminate your entire clan. Li Lingtian slowly crawled up with blood oozing from the corner of his mouth. He looked extremely terrifying. He looked sharply at the 2 old men in the distance. One was a beggar-like old man, and the other was an old man with Densine Qi. Junior, she's your woman, a piece of trash. I'll refine you into a puppet first. Old monster Tianming didn't know how this young man had survived this destructive power, but the killing intent in his heart was extremely dense. He only wanted to kill this young man. All right, then you all will die. Blood continued to flow from the corner of Li Lingtian's mouth. His face was in extreme pain. With a flick of his divine consciousness, he activated the divine dragon ring, and the space trembled. The silver-winged flying dragon, multicolored beast, little white, and jade-eyed beast appeared in front of him at the same time. Little White crouched beside Li Lingtian. The multicolored beast, jade-eyed beast, and silver-winged flying dragon did not wait for Li Lingtian's order before they roared and charged forward. After spending so much time with Li Lingtian, even the demonic beasts developed feelings for him. Seeing Li Lingtian's injuries, the few demonic beasts were enraged. Their destructive demonic powers overwhelmed him. Silver-winged flying dragon. Level 5. Level 8 silver-winged flying dragon. Multicolored beast, jade-eyed beast. Old Monster Tianming and Old Ghost Ming had never thought that this young man would have a level 5 level 8 demonic beast. Such a terrifying existence had the same cultivation as them, but his strength was extremely terrifying. Even when he was at his peak, he did not dare to provoke him easily. Moreover, his cultivation had fallen and his injuries were serious. He did not have the strength to fight at all. Not to mention a level 8 demon beast, even a level 5 or 6 demon beast could kill them. When they discovered this situation, they were shocked to death. Rumble! Rumble! Before they could react, a series of shocking attacks bombarded them. In the blink of an eye, the 3 demon beasts and the 2 elders were fighting. Shun Mei was elated to see Li Lingtian having such a demonic beast. Due to the urgency, he had long forgotten about the demonic beast that he saw Li Lingtian last time. Tisk! Li Lingtian slowly stood up and forcefully cast a spell. The spell pointed at the heaven and earth creation cauldron, and the light from the cauldron disappeared. The cauldron returned to Li Lingtian's hand. He cast another incantation gesture, and the divine array world's light shield disappeared. Li Lingtian could not hold it in any longer after casting the 2 incantation gestures. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned ghastly pale. With the array around Shun Mei removed, she no longer cared about anything else as she threw herself into Li Lingtian's arms. Tears were streaming down her face. During this period of time, she had been out of sorts after leaving Li Lingtian. However, she could not go to Maple Leaf Villa to find Li Lingtian. Oh! He had originally planned to disappear just like that, but he was reluctant to do so until the ancient cave abode in the soliciting Moon Mountains opened and allowed his subordinate to obtain the wooden bead to enter. She had also wanted to meet Li Lingtian in the ancient cave dwelling. Just as she had hoped, Li Lingtian appeared outside the cave dwelling. However, Li Lingtian's figure quickly disappeared after he entered the cave. After searching for a few days in the ancient cave abode, Li Lingtian was nowhere to be found. Wei Tian had died, and he had almost fallen into Old Monster Tianming's hands. After going through so many things and suffering, how could a girl like her bear it? With Li Lingtian here, she would naturally have a place to vent her frustrations. It's all right now, Li Lingtian said softly as he endured the pain all over his body. No matter what had happened in the past, he owed this Shun Mei. He had made a girl so afraid for him. What else could he not be satisfied with? Rumble! Rumble! Explosions sounded in the sky as countless experts rushed over. However, when they saw the battle between the demonic beasts and Old Monster Tianming in the sky, they were all incomparably shocked. They didn't know what had happened, but Old Monster Tianming and Old Ghost Ming were both extremely afraid after being beaten up like this. They thought that a few demon beasts had beaten the 2 of them until their cultivation realms fell, and their hearts trembled. Even though they saw Li Lingtian injured, they did not dare to take advantage of the situation as they had to look at the target. A few demonic beasts had turned 2 8th-level martial emperors into 7th-level martial emperors. Now that they were not far from death, they naturally did not dare to die. All! Arg! A miserable cry sounded out as Old Monster Tianming was struck by the silver-winged flying dragon's destructive demonic energy. His body was continuously torn apart, and in the end his life force disappeared. He couldn't be any more dead. The silver-winged flying dragon didn't stop after this attack. It continued to attack Old Ghost Ming. Now it was 3 against 1. With Old Monster Tianming's death, It brought the shadow of death to old ghost Yin Ming. Rumble. Another earth-shaking explosion occurred. The despair in the old ghost Yin Ming's eyes turned into ashes, and his body split apart. Roar! 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 After the three demonic beasts killed old monster Tianming and old ghost Yin Ming, they let out waves of violent roars and looked at the experts in the distance with a show of force. They were enraged when Li Lingtian was beaten up like this. Their violent rage terrified countless powerhouses. 2. Let's go. Li Lingtian's palm gently caressed Shunmei Er's back before she finally quieted down. She knew that Li Lingtian was in a bad state and needed to find a place to recuperate. If she delayed Li Lingtian's recuperation, he might even die. The multicolored beast crouched down after Li Lingtian finished speaking and gestured for Li Lingtian to go up. Li Lingtian struggled to get on the multicolored beast. Shunmei sat behind him while Little White sat on Li Lingtian's shoulder. The three demonic beasts ran away quickly and disappeared from the sight of countless experts in the blink of an eye. On the multicolored beast tried its best to reduce the bumps and its speed was not too fast. After running for a full hour, the silver-winged flying dragon flew in the air and finally stopped by a lake. The jade-eyed beast's body flashed and entered the lake. After a moment, it appeared again and gave the multicolored beast a human-like look before entering the lake again. The multicolored beast did not stop either. The few demonic beasts had been together for a long time and naturally understood each other's intentions. The silver-winged flying dragon and the multicolored beast quickly entered the lake. The multicolored beast quickly sank. After sinking for 100 meters, a cave appeared. However, no lake water entered the cave, as if it was blocked by something mysterious. The jade-eyed beast burrowed into the cave with the multicolored beast following behind. Li Lingtian did not bother with the demonic beasts as he had no chance to bother with them now. The injuries all over his body worsened rapidly. He could only focus on his body and not let his consciousness disappear. Shunmei had also noticed something amiss with Li Lingtian, but she was not in the mood to care about the demonic beast's actions. The sound of air being torn apart rang out as three demon beasts appeared in a dry cave. The cave was very big, and there were countless small holes of different sizes inside. Each small hole had a radius of more than 10 square meters. Out of the three demonic beasts, one blocked the entrance while the other two walked in. They blocked both sides so that Li Lingtian could heal himself. Shunmei got down from the multicolored beast and hugged Li Lingtian. They quickly walked into a small hole. He stretched out his hand, and an exquisite ring appeared. Immediately, the space fluctuated, and countless daily necessities and jade bottles appeared in the ring. Great cyclic pellet. Where is the great cyclic pellet? Where's my great cyclic pellet? Shunmei kept rummaging through her interspatial ring. If someone saw the pills in these jade bottles, they would definitely go crazy because these pills were all tier 4 or 5 precious pills. There were even some legendary precious pills. Found it. Shunmei searched through her interspatial ring and finally found a brocade box. Inside the brocade box was an exquisite jade box with over 10 seals on it. So many seals were just to seal a pill. The pill was the size of a finger, but it emitted a magical light. Heaven and earth are clear and frozen. Revive your soul and restore your spirit. Open. He chanted an incantation, and more than 10 seals were opened. The medicinal pill automatically flew out, carrying traces of spirituality, and was about to escape outside. The medicinal pill had its own consciousness. Only a tier 7 medicinal pill could have such spirituality. Seeing that the pill was about to escape, Shunmei grabbed it with one hand and quickly stuffed it into Li Lingtian's mouth. The tears on her face were still wet as she anxiously watched Li Lingtian's transformation. Li Lingtian spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was trembling and his expression was contorted. Silly woman, what pill did you give me? Li Lingtian endured the pain and looked at Shunmei. What's wrong with you? This is my great cyclic pellet. Seeing Li Lingtian's expression, Shunmei knew that she had not only failed to help Li Lingtian, but had instead worsened his injuries. She was not angry at all when she heard Li Lingtian call her a silly woman. On the contrary, she was extremely happy. If anyone else dared to shout like this, they would have died countless times. Great Rejuvenating Pill. A level 7 Great Rejuvenating Pill. Li Lingtian's heart sank and his heart turned ashen. If it was any other time, a tier 7 pill like this would be the target of countless super heaven-defying powerhouses. Moreover, this great recovery pill was the most magical pill among the 7th grade pills. He didn't expect that Shun Mei would have such a pill. But now, not only could he not heal himself, but he was also adding fuel to the fire. He was weak and could not be nourished. Moreover, after his meridians were broken, this pill was a fatal poison. And hurry up and get out. If I'm not dead, come in again. Li Lingtian's entire body seemed to be on fire. The burning of his meridians made him suffer hellish pain. Originally, he only needed to enter the Divine Dragon Ring to recover from his injuries. However, he did not expect that this silly woman would waste the recover pill for him, and even push him to the edge of death. Chapter 240. Chapter 240. Cultivate Together, 1. Chapter 240. Cultivate Together, 1. If you die, I won't live alone. I'll go to hell with you. Seeing Li Lingtian's condition, Shun Mei knew that she was done for. She looked at Li Lingtian resolutely before turning around and leaving the cave. He tidied up the small cave next door. In less than 10 minutes, a warm boudoir appeared. The entrance of the small cave was covered by a formation flag. Once she was done, she walked out and sat quietly outside Li Lingtian's cave. If anything happened to Li Lingtian, she would follow him to hell. Her boudoir would be the place where they would be buried. The 3 demonic beasts were also extremely anxious. Their bodies were bursting with a violent aura as they paced back and forth. However, they did not dare to approach Li Lingtian. This silly woman. Li Lingtian smiled bitterly as he watched Shun Mei leave. He knew that Shun Mei was trying to save him. Otherwise, she would not have fed him such a precious and miraculous pill. With that, he waved his hands and activated the Divine Dragon Ring with his divine consciousness. He then entered the 3,000 dragon energies in the Divine Dragon Ring. With the existence of the Dragon Qi, he would not be destroyed. Only in this way could he repair his meridians. If his meridians were not repaired, he would not even be able to use his cultivation technique. How could he be treated? A low growl came from his throat, and his expression was distorted. Seal! Seal! Once his meridians were slightly repaired, Li Lingtian quickly unleashed his Ice Soul Martial Soul and Flaming Sacred Body. The 2 miraculous ultimate martial souls quickly suppressed the recover pill. The Great Cyclic Pill was not like other medicinal pills that melted in the mouth. It had to be refined through exercise. An ordinary expert would need 10 days to half a month to refine a recover pill. Moreover, only martial supremes and martial emperors dared to use a grade 7 medicinal pill. He did not dare to refine the Great Rejuvenation Pill now, and he did not have the strength to do so. He could only seal the Great Cyclic Pellet, or else he would be burned to death by the medicinal power of the Great Cyclic Pellet. His body was in turmoil. His meridians were broken from time to time and his true essence was in disarray. Li Lingtian was on the verge of destruction. After an unknown amount of time, the Great Cyclic Pellet was finally sealed, but there were still traces of medicinal strength moving around in his body. Li Lingtian could only allow the Great Cyclic Pellet's medicinal effect to run through his body. He could only focus on repairing his meridians. Otherwise, he would not be able to heal himself, let alone stop the Great Cyclic Pellet's medicinal effect. Hush! Li Lingtian did not know if it was a day or 2 before he finally heaved a sigh of relief. His meridians were gradually recovering. He left the Divine Dragon Ring and reappeared in the cave. His expression had also recovered a lot, but his meridians still needed to recover. Now that he had passed the critical period, it was only a matter of time before his injuries and meridians recovered. After a mouthful of blood was expelled, his face gradually regained its ruddy color, and he was no different from an ordinary person. The only thing was that he could not use his meridians in true essence. He could only be an ordinary person for the time being. Xiaobai was relieved to see Li Lingtian come out. This was because every time Li Lingtian was injured, he would come out of the divine dragon ring and his injuries would recover. Although his expression wasn't very good, it seemed that his injuries had stabilized. Kiki. After chirping twice, a stream of consciousness was transmitted into Li Lingtian's awareness. Li Lingtian finally understood that Shun Mei was still standing guard outside. He was stunned for a moment. This silly woman had done all kinds of silly things. For his sake, she had come to the ancient cave mansion and wasted the recover pill. After tidying himself up, he walked out of the cave and saw Shun Mei staring at the cave. He looked extremely tired, as if he hadn't rested for a long time. How are you? When Shun Mei saw Li Lingtian, she immediately stood up and sized him up. She asked softly like a child who had done something wrong. I won't die, you silly woman. Li Lingtian's expression turned serious as he walked forward. He stared at Shun Mei and spoke coldly. Pa! A crisp sound rang out in the cave and Shun Mei jumped up. You bully me. Shun Mei rubbed her. Initially, she thought that Li Lingtian was going to blame her, but she did not expect him to slap her on the cheek. This is your punishment. The coldness on Li Lingtian's face turned into a smile as he looked at Shun Mei with a serious expression. Then he kissed her red lips. Shun Mei was also stunned, and she didn't react for a moment. What followed was the response of the storm. The two of them were completely silent in that intoxicated world. Not here, okay? Shun Mei breathed heavily, her face flushed red. Seeing that there were a few beasts here, she felt a little embarrassed. She reached out and pulled Li Lingtian's hand as they walked toward their cave. The scenery in the cave was extremely beautiful. This was the second time the two of them had been together. They had completely let go. After going through all kinds of things, they knew their place in each other's hearts. Shun Mei was born with a seductive body. Li Lingtian was completely mesmerized by this stunningly beautiful woman. After some time, the two of them quieted down. Shun Mei leaned into Li Lingtian's arms and enjoyed his warmth. A satisfied expression appeared on her face. Neither of them said a word. But there was no need for them to talk. You're my woman. Do you regret it? Li Lingtian looked at the perfect girl and asked gently. This was an idiotic sentence. If she regretted it, she would not have chased him to the ancient cave mansion. No, because I'm destined to be your woman. Meyer is born with a charming body, but Meyer is pure as ice and jade. Her body and mind belong only to you. Last time I only wanted Prince Windspirit to teach you a lesson and make him give up. But after hearing what Prince Windspirit said, Meyer was moved. It was as if she had touched the strings in her heart. Shun Mei spoke in a soft voice. She recounted everything that had happened during this period of time, warming Li Lingtian's heart. With such a woman falling in love with him, what else could he not be satisfied with? As the two of them spoke softly, Li Lingtian enjoyed the endless gentleness. The next day, Li Lingtian continued to recuperate. With Li Lingtian's love, Shun Mei had a smile on her face at all times. Her charm and innocence blended perfectly together. After a few days of recuperation, Li Lingtian's meridians were completely repaired, and he could now channel his qi to cultivate. Shun Mei blushed as she whispered something into Li Lingtian's ear. Li Lingtian was stunned as an excited smile appeared on his face. However, Shun Mei was extremely embarrassed. Dual cultivation? Li Lingtian exclaimed in his heart. He knew about dual cultivation, but he did not know how to do it. Moreover, according to Shun Mei, her body of bewitchment could increase the cultivation of a man who was dual cultivating by several times. Moreover, they could share their Zhenqi and Zhenyuan, but only if Shun Mei agreed. More importantly, the incantation for dual cultivation was also with Shun Mei. Because she had the body of charm, the queen of the Queen Palace had already taught her the technique of dual cultivation. She was waiting for Shun Mei to get married, and then she would dual cultivate with her husband. All this while, her cultivation had not been able to increase. This was also because of the system. If she dual cultivated, her cultivation would increase in a straight line. Aya, why are you so loud? You're so embarrassed. Later, don't just bully Mei. Remember, the chant and the cultivation method are more important. Shun Mei said shyly. She did not even dare to look up at Li Lingtian. After that, the two of them spent most of their time in dual cultivation. Li Lingtian knew how powerful dual cultivation was, but he did not expect it to be so fast. In 3 days, his cultivation had actually broken through to the 4th rank of the martial arts grandmaster. Moreover, the medicinal power of the grand rejuvenation pill in his body had also been converted into true essence. His cultivation had now reached the peak of the 4th rank. Shun Mei was originally a Tier 9 warrior spirit, and her cultivation base had been rising continuously in the past 3 days. She had broken through to Tier 6 and was now a Tier 5 warrior king. As he watched the passing of time, Li Lingtian thought for a moment. It was about time for him to leave. If he missed the time, he would never be able to leave. However, Shun Mei's face revealed a reluctant expression. She knew that after they left this place, the two of them would definitely separate. There were many things that she could not control herself. Although she was the little princess of the queen's palace, she could not control herself. Little brother Mei will be returning to the queen's palace after this trip. You must come and find me. Mei will always be waiting for you. Shun Mei had been fighting Li Lingtian for 2 months, and Li Lingtian had been taken advantage of. However, Li Lingtian did not address her as sister. Instead, he addressed her as Mei or silly woman. Alright, wait for me at the queen's palace. I'll definitely bring you back from the queen's palace. Because you're Li Lingtian's woman, silly woman. Li Lingtian said earnestly with a gentle expression. In this world, no matter how glorious it looked on the surface, there were countless things that were beyond one's control behind the scenes. He didn't ask Shun Mei anything because he didn't need to know. As long as he became stronger, everything would be fine. Well, we'll stay for another day, okay? A blissful smile appeared on Shun Mei's face as she spoke shyly. She then whispered into Li Lingtian's ear, causing the smile on his face to deepen. On that day, the two of them made love to their heart's content. No matter what Li Lingtian requested, Shun Mei would agree to it. She wanted to stay 1 more day to accompany Li Lingtian. Moreover, this place was their private world. After they went out, they would go their separate ways. Both of them enjoyed the warmth before Li Lingtian left the cave with Shun Mei and flew into the distance. A month's time was up very quickly. The two of them naturally had to rush back so that they wouldn't stay here forever. Counting the time, there were only 2 days left before they left. Li Lingtian stored Little White, the jade-eyed beast, and the silver-winged flying dragon into the divine dragon ring. Holding Shun Mei in his arms, the multicolored beast galloped forward. Shun Mei snuggled into Li Lingtian's arms and enjoyed the last bit of gentleness. They would have to part once they were out. Both of them remained silent as they looked at the scenery on both sides. Even if there were powerhouses, Li Lingtian completely ignored them. As long as they didn't provoke him, he wouldn't provoke these experts. He didn't want the treasures and he had his own wealth. He wouldn't take the risk for the time being. Because he and Shun Mei were going to be separated soon. If he still went for treasures and wealth at this time, it would be a great spoil of scenery. Li Lingtian did not know why Shun Mei wanted to go back, but he would not object to it as he had many things to attend to. Moreover, the Queen's Palace was one of the 3 super forces in the Azure continent. At least no one would dare to bully or provoke Shun Mei when she returned to the Queen's Palace. Chapter 241 Chapter 241 The Destruction of Maple Leaf Manor. Chapter 241 The Destruction of Maple Leaf Manor. After a day, the two of them returned to the place where they came in and waited for the exit to open. The last time they entered, there were nearly 1,000 experts. However, when they returned now, there were only about 300 of them. However, judging from the expressions of these experts, he should have gained quite a lot. The 7th and 8th level martial emperors had all returned. Only old monster Tian Ming, old ghost Yin Ming, and Wei Tian had disappeared. Many experts were shocked. The 2 old monsters and Wei Tian were both Type 8 experts. Wei Tian did not say anything, but Tian Ming and Yin Ming were definitely in the top 3 among the people who had entered this time. There was no super expert who could kill the 2 of them. Even the only 9th-level martial emperor here could not kill them. However, countless experts discovered something strange. The young man with no cultivation had returned, and in his arms was a peerless and beautiful girl. Many experts knew or had heard of this young lady. She was the little princess of the queen's palace. However, the Tier 8 guard beside her did not return. Instead, a young man with no cultivation and a Tier 9 warrior spirit little princess returned. Moreover, many martial emperors looked uneasy when they saw the two of them return, as if they had seen ghosts. Why is the little princess of the queen's palace with him? From the looks of it, they should be lovers. Yeah, it looks like this pretty boy has already won the favor of this little princess. Why would the little princess of the queen's palace fall in love with a pretty boy who has no cultivation? This is really strange. Countless powerhouses were whispering among themselves. When they looked at Li Lingtian, their eyes were filled with disdain and contempt. However, he could not hide the envy in his eyes. To be favored by such a peerless beauty was worth it even if he died. Senior brother, don't speak. Don't provoke him. He's not some pretty boy. He's more terrifying than a devil. When a 4th-level martial emperor saw that his senior brother was also discussing with him, he quickly stopped him. It would not be worth it if he were to fail in the ditch at this time. What do you mean? When Yang Tian heard his junior brother's words and the fear on his junior brother's face, he also felt that something was wrong. This pretty boy did not have any cultivation base, yet he was able to return safely. This was a little suspicious. Furthermore, as the little princess of the queen's palace, the person she fancied must be a heaven-defying monster. Tianming and Dark Nether died in his hands. They were killed at the same time. Although the two of them died under his demonic beast, when the demonic beast killed the two old monsters, the two old monsters had already been beaten until their realms fell. Their injuries were terrible. Feng Lai was still afraid of the two demonic beasts that had killed Tianming and Yinming. Furthermore, when he saw Li Lingtian's injuries and Tianming and Yiming's state drop, he was certain that Li Lingtian was the one who had beaten them up. The demonic beast killing them was just the end of the battle. What? Two old monsters joined hands and were defeated by him, causing their realms to drop. In the end they were even killed? Yang Tian was extremely shocked. This news was too shocking and he could not help but exclaim. Instantly, countless martial emperors looked at him. They had also heard a part of the conversation, and their eyes were filled with questions. Brother Lan, I'm not afraid to tell you that when Dark Nether and Tianming joined forces, they were beaten by him until their cultivation levels dropped. In the end, they were killed by his demonic beast. A Force Emperor whispered to the people he knew when he heard someone say it. That's impossible. Even a Supreme Realm expert might not be able to defeat Tianming and Netherworld if they join forces. He beat them until their realms fell? Isn't this too terrifying? What exactly happened? Look, it shouldn't be difficult to imagine how the two of them look like. That's true. Old monster Tianming naturally likes women, and this peerless beauty must have become his prey. However, he didn't dare to attack alone, so he joined forces with the Netherworld. In the end, he was hit by an iron plate. That should be it. How powerful is this? It seems that we can't afford to offend some low-profile people. Perhaps an ordinary person can be a super expert who can kill you in an instant. At that moment, countless powerhouses were discussing among themselves. They were all suspicious when they saw Li Lingtian and the other man. Meanwhile, Li Lingtian and his companion completely ignored the discussions. The two of them sat on a huge rock in a quiet place while Shunmei snuggled up in Li Lingtian's arms. The two of them did not say a word as they enjoyed each other's gentleness. The scene froze. No one dared to cause trouble in this place, and their hearts were extremely heavy. A super expert who could destroy the world was here. Who would still dare to act tough? Acting tough was not to be struck by lightning but to be killed by experts. Crash. An arc of lightning struck down from the sky, and a figure of light landed on the ground. Just like the last time outside, an array altar of light appeared. On the array altar, there were countless mysterious arrays and mysterious lights. Mayor, we should go. Li Lingtian looked at the array altar with a calm expression, but he did not show the reluctance in his heart. He gently held Shun Mei-er's hand and slowly walked towards the formation altar. It was a strange scene and the atmosphere was extremely oppressive. Many powerhouses wanted to leave after the array altar was activated, but none dared to go up when they saw Li Lingtian's arrival. They could only stand aside. This scene made countless experts feel aggrieved. Tis. After entering the light of the array altar, a halo flashed and the two of them disappeared, leaving behind a breeze. In the space-time tunnel, the two of them held hands tightly and looked at each other. The reluctance in their hearts could only be hidden in their hearts. A breeze blew past, and the two of them floated in the air before slowly descending. However, the moment she landed, a faint multicolored light appeared on her body. As the multicolored light appeared, her figure gradually disappeared. Mei-er will always belong to my little brother. Crystal tears rolled down her lively eyes. As her voice fell, her figure became fainter and fainter. His figure disappeared, and his arms were empty. Her heart felt like it was being pricked by a needle. Unknowingly, a tear rolled down her face. He turned around and left without looking at the figure that was about to disappear. He didn't want to stay here and miss her. The thunderclap wings flapped, and he disappeared. In the soliciting Moon Mountains, there was a world-destroying explosion, and a burst of explosive aura tore through the space. Countless experts left the ancient cave dwelling, but they were all shocked when they saw the soaring aura in the mountain range. Li Lingtian lay on the ground and allowed the strong wind to blow against him. His expression was numb. I've lived 2 lives in this life. One thought that I looked down on the world and that I was a genius. However, I couldn't even protect my own woman, nor could one protect my own family. Expert. What is an expert? It is to control one's own fate, control the fate of others, control this world and dominate this world. Only then can one be considered an expert. Li Lingtian must become a powerhouse who stands above all others and rules the world. Li Lingtian muttered to himself with a never-before-seen determination on his face. With a flash he flew into the distance. A strong person must have a strong mind and would not yield in the face of any torture. Only with the heart of a strong person could one become a strong person. The matter at the soliciting Moon Mountains had almost been resolved. There was no point in staying here. However, Maple Leaf Manor still needed to be dealt with. If he left just like that, Maple Leaf Manor would definitely be annexed by other forces. Moreover, Yunyaya was waiting for him at Maple Leaf Manor. This girl was very important to him. After a day, he returned to Maple Leaf Manor. Seeing everything that was happening in Maple Leaf Manor, his expression became distorted. How was this Maple Leaf Manor? This was a ruin. The entire Maple Leaf Manor had been razed to the ground. Not a single piece of wood was intact. The entire manor had been reduced to ashes. There was not a single intact item, let alone a human figure. Li Lingtian was stunned by the sight. Who was the one who wanted to deal with Maple Leaf Manor? Who dared to do so? As a martial arts grandmaster, he could clearly see that this was not caused by a fight. Instead, it was caused by the destruction of the entire villa. Only a super 9th level martial emperor could do it, or even a martial honor. Yao Yao sis. Li Lingtian was on the verge of going crazy. Even with his ice soul martial soul and 5 elements perfection, he could not withstand such a blow. During this period of time, he had seen countless things that he could not do anything about. Facing the destruction of the god's wrath, he had seen Tang Ziming's hoarse screams. Tang Qingyue had been taken away by a powerful family in the Azure continent, and Shun Mei-er had been forced to return to the Queen's palace. Now that Maple Leaf Manor had been destroyed, Yunyaya was nowhere to be seen. Who is it? Who did it? One Li Lingtian, swear that I will exterminate your entire family. Li Lingtian shouted loudly. He was powerless. He was too powerless in front of everything. With his current cultivation, countless people were afraid of him. However, after he left, someone dared to attack his family. Was this really afraid of him? The Queen Palace was one of the 3 superpowers in the Azure continent. However, after Shun Mei-er entered the ancient cave mansion, Old Monster Tianming and Old Ghost Yinming dared to set their eyes on her. The queen's palace was still not strong enough. If they were strong, they needed to be deeply afraid of them no matter when and where they were. Li Lingtian looked at the ruins in front of him and thought of what Yu Niaoyao had told him. He had been waiting for her to come back forever. When she came back, all she saw was ruins. Swoosh! It was at this moment that the sound of something breaking through the air was heard as it shot toward Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian's speed was so fast that he arrived in an instant. With a flip of his hand, a palm print pressed forward and the sky-turning palm was unleashed. A shocking force crashed down on the air-piercing sound behind him. At the same time, Li Lingtian's body burst into the air, and he left his spot far away. Chapter 242 Chapter 242 Killing 1 Chapter 242 Killing 1 Rumble. With a loud explosion, Li Lingtian's body was suspended in the air as he stared at the black-robed elder in the distance. Huh! The black-robed old man was also surprised. He did not expect this young man without any cultivation to be so domineering. He casually negated his attack. With a serious expression on his face, the true essence in his body quickly circulated around him, ready to launch a destructive attack at any time. Did you do this? Li Lingtian's expression was surprisingly calm. His tone was calm as well as he looked at the black-robed elder in the distance. Under his calm appearance, his heart was exploding. If this old man admitted that he was the one who did it, he would suffer a devastating blow. Not bad, I didn't expect you to really appear. Hand over the heavenly spiritual pearl. The elder in black looked at Li Lingtian with a greedy expression. He had finally found the whereabouts of the heavenly spiritual pearl during this period of time, but he could not find it even after searching through Maple Leaf Manor. Knowing the relationship between Yu Niaoyao and Li Lingtian was the only one who was not at Maple Leaf Villa. Since Maple Leaf Villa was gone, the only thing they could do was to deal with Li Lingtian. They did not expect Li Lingtian to be here. Heavenly spiritual pearl. Li Lingtian was stunned. What heavenly spiritual pearl did he know? He had actually destroyed Maple Leaf Manor and Yu Niaoyao for this unknown heavenly spiritual pearl. He deserved to die. However, he immediately thought of something. When he removed Yu Niaoyao's 9 absolute meridians, Yu Niaoyao's clothes had been removed, leaving only a tube top. Her delicate body was as smooth as jade, and there was a gray bead hanging around her neck. Li Lingtian had noticed it at the time and thought that it was just an ordinary accessory. In the end, Yu Niaoyao gave it to him and it was still on his neck. Could it be the so-called heavenly spirit pearl? Hand over the heavenly spiritual pearl, and I'll give you an intact corpse. The black-robed old man said coldly as he circulated the true essence in his body to the extreme. You're courting death. Li Lingtian's heart was equally cold. He now understood that this old man was the culprit behind Maple Leaf Villa. He was a Tier 9 martial emperor, and only a Tier 9 martial emperor could achieve such a feat. He was already a peak rank 4 martial arts grandmaster. Even if he was faced with a rank 9 martial emperor, he could still escape even if he could not defeat him. Moreover, he could not escape at all. With this enemy in front of him, if he escaped, it would leave a shadow in his future. He circulated his vital essence and activated his divine sense. The silver-winged flying dragon appeared in the air and stood on its body. A shocking demonic power pressure and a powerful dragon aura swept out. The roaring dragon battle poleaxe was swung, and the silver-winged flying dragon roared. The silver figure turned into a shooting star and shot towards the black-robed old man. Silver-winged flying dragon. The black-robed elder did not expect the youth before him to have a Tier 5, Level 8 silver-winged wyvern. He immediately felt threatened. Rumble! With a deafening explosion, the silver-winged flying dragon's powerful demonic power was unleashed, while Li Lingtian's roaring dragon combat poleaxe was unleashed. The silver-winged flying dragon had been fighting alongside Li Lingtian for quite some time, and their teamwork was flawless. In an instant, a black ball of light, a silver shadow and a white figure flashed in the sky. Instead of letting out an earth-shattering explosion, the silver-winged flying dragon defended and restrained him while Li Lingtian attacked with all his might. The black-robed old man's face was filled with anger. He did not expect to be suppressed by a young man. He was a 9th-level martial emperor, but he had also fallen to such a state. In the soliciting Moon Mountains, countless experts had seen the battle in the sky. The battle quickly spread into the distance, and the black light kept retreating. A silver-winged flying dragon and a white-robed young man suppressed the black-robed old man's attacks. One didn't expect his strength to reach such a level. A silver-winged flying dragon. With his strength, even a 9th-level martial emperor can only escape. The cultivators of the soliciting Moon Mountain range looked at the battle in the sky, and their expressions changed. Fortunately, he didn't look for this young man. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. Ice Fire 9 Heavens Destruction. Li Lingtian found an opportunity to put away the roaring dragon combat halberd. He raised his hands and a destructive and deadly aura burst forth. A ball of flames and a glacier appeared in his hands. He put his hands together and a 3-colored pillar of light shot out. Rumble! With a shocking explosion, the black ball of light was sent flying, and blood spurted out. Die! Die, die, die! Li Lingtian's body flashed as his huge fist continued to strike the black-robed elder's body. Rumble! Rumble! The silver-winged flying dragon came to a halt after a series of explosions. It followed behind Li Lingtian, only to see Li Lingtian's fists continuously striking the old man. It was a close-range attack, and the old man had become a passive sandbag. However, he did not have the slightest bit of power to resist, nor did he have the slightest chance to resist. Countless powerhouses below were trembling in fear when they saw Li Lingtian's expression. They could only stay far away from such a person. After an unknown period of time, the old man in black had turned into a pile of meat. There was not a single intact bone in his body, but Li Lingtian's fist had yet to stop. The black-robed elder was long dead. However, Li Lingtian's fury continued to bombard the Annihilation Mountain Villa's murderer with all his strength. He finally stopped and spat out a mouthful of blood. It was not because he was injured, but because he had been suppressing himself after seeing the situation at Maple Leaf Manor. Now that he had relaxed, he could no longer hold it in. Let's go. Li Lingtian returned to the silver-winged flying dragon and quickly flew toward the horizon. All that was left for the cultivators of the soliciting Moon Mountain range was a back view. Behind this back view, everyone was shocked. After flying for an unknown period of time, a huge city appeared in front of them. The city stretched for countless tens of thousands of miles. This place was like a country of cities. Even with his powerful divine sense, he was unable to see how big this city was. Stop! Li Lingtian did not know where he was when he saw the city. He could only order the silver-winged flying dragon to come down. Everything from the past was kept in the bottom of her heart and could not be revealed. This place was filled with experts, so it was best to keep a low profile. The silver-winged flying dragon landed on a hidden mountain peak. Li Lingtian stored the silver-winged flying dragon into the divine dragon ring, before he found a water source to clean himself up. He changed into clean clothes and walked out with a faint smile on his face. Then, he flew toward the city on his sword. The closer he got to the city, the bigger the city became. In the end, it was like a forest that was 10,000 miles long. Li Lingtian came to the foot of the tall city wall and looked at it. Even Sky Dragon Empire's Sky Dragon City was not as strong as this city wall. The 100-meter tall city wall emitted an ancient aura. The huge city gate was 50 meters wide and 20 meters tall. There were a total of 5 main roads under the city gate, which were divided into levels to enter and exit. This was the place to show one's identity. One great Dao was used by martial emperors and above, while the others were used by ordinary martial artists, super sects, and families. Li Lingtian headed straight for the ordinary passageway. He was not a martial emperor but a Tier 4 martial arts grandmaster. Moreover, he wouldn't show off in this place, as he would often be struck by lightning. Sir, do you have a token to enter the city? What's the matter? A Warrior King patrol member asked in a neutral tone when he saw Li Lingtian approaching. Warriors who used the normal passageway were not powerhouses and did not have any status. Naturally, there was no need to stand on ceremony. Moreover, Li Lingtian did not exude any powerful aura. nor did he have any cultivation base. Help this young master apply for one, Li Lingtian said coldly. Even though he was not going to show off, he would not be ignored or disrespected. His tone was cold and it sent chills down the patrolling members' spines. Please wait for a moment. The token requires 10,000 lower spiritual stones. You can only enter the Wei City. To enter and exit Moonrise City, you need 100,000 lower spiritual stones. May first ask if you want to apply for a 10,000 yuan token or a 100,000 yuan token. The patrol member asked. Although he did not know the cultivation of this young man, he gave off a threatening feeling. There are still two kinds of tokens. Tell me what they are about. Li Lingtian was stunned. This was the first time he had encountered such a thing. In the past he only needed one token, but this place had two types of tokens. Is this your first time in Moonrise City? It's like this. Soliciting Moon City is divided into a citadel and an inner city. There are 4 citadel in the periphery, and each citadel is 20,000 miles in size. The inner city is 100,000 kilometers in size. A 10,000 token can only be used in the citadel. Any mission can only be accepted in the citadel. It can't be accepted in the inner city. The patrol member explained patiently when he saw that there were not many people who were going through the procedures. If Li Lingtian were to apply for a token in the inner city, he would earn even more. All right. Let's get a token for the inner city. Li Lingtian did not hesitate at all. Naturally, he would not let a few spiritual stones affect his own plans. 100,000 spirit stones were only low grade. He had 40 billion spirit stones on him, which meant that he had given Yunyaoyao 500 million. Furthermore, he had entered the ancient cave abode and killed Tianming in Netherworld, so he had countless wealth. The black-robed old man of Maple Leaf Manor had countless treasures in his storage bag. Naturally, he would not care about these few spirit stones. All right, please wait a moment. May first know your name. Don't worry. No one knows about this identity. The patrol member quickly explained when he saw the expression on Li Lingtian's face. Those who came here to apply for a token were wary of others asking about their name and origin. After that, Li Lingtian revealed his name and took out his token before heading into the city. After entering the city, it was like entering an endless sea. They had no idea how big this city was. The patrol member said that it was tens of thousands of miles wide, but they only realized how huge this city was when they really went inside. Moonrise City truly lives up to its reputation. Looking at the buildings in the city, the pavilions and palaces were arranged in rows. The bluestone streets were 30 meters wide, and the countless streets were like a spider web. It was impossible to find the direction on the first trip. Moreover, the strength of the martial artists in the city was much stronger than that of the Green Island. Even some of the waiters were warrior spirits and there were even martial kings. Chapter 243 Chapter 243 Wood Spirit Pearl and Dust Cleansing Pill Recipe. Chapter 243 Wood Spirit Pearl and Dust Cleansing Pill Recipe. After Li Lingtian strolled around the city, he headed toward the plaza. An ordinary city would have 4 squares. Although this was only the outer city, it was still more powerful than Sky Dragon City. Looking around the square, a young man walked up. Is there anything one can help you with? The young man bowed to Li Lingtian and said respectfully, a Tier 2 warrior spirit was only the lowest level in Moonrise City. If such a disciple ventured out of the city, it would be filled with danger. Whether it was facing demonic beasts or martial artists, they would only be courting death. The best way was to make a living in the city and serve the foreign experts. This was a way to survive and earn money. And find me a quiet inn. Li Lingtian had a faint smile on his face and a proud expression on his face. It was completely different from before. He had plenty of spirit stones, so he naturally wouldn't have to do everything himself. Furthermore, the things that had happened during this period of time had made him understand that a person's strength would never be able to stand firm. Only a powerful faction could stand firm in the Azure continent. Alright, the Linen Inn in the North City is very good. It's just that the price is a little expensive. The young man introduced himself and very straightforwardly said that he was going to an inn. Warriors like them who made a living naturally knew the inns in the city by heart. A person would be welcomed by an inn of a certain level. Judging from Li Lingtian's appearance, he must be someone who was not short of money. Otherwise, he would not have approached him. The young man's name was Qing Yun. He did not need Li Lingtian's instructions to call for a decent beast carriage nearby, and drove Li Lingtian to the Lining Inn. In less than 10 minutes, the beast carriage stopped in front of an inn. "Young master, we're here." Qing Yun respectfully opened the wooden door of the beast carriage and stood with a bow, awaiting Li Lingtian's instructions. "Yes." Li Lingtian grunted and slowly walked down. He looked around and found that the place was relatively quiet. Although it was not a downtown area, it was not considered remote either. "Young master, do you want to stay, or have a meal? The prices here are fair and the dishes are delicious." A shop assistant walked up and nodded at Qing Yun. The two of them looked very familiar. Li Lingtian did not need to think to know that this was the unspoken rule of being a tour guide. Since Qing Yun had brought in guests for the inn, he would naturally receive a considerable commission and bonus. "Give me a courtyard. Give this young master a try," Li Lingtian said calmly as he walked into the inn. He looked like a young master from an aristocratic family. When he entered the inn, he waved at Qing Yun. The shop assistant was delighted to see Li Lingtian's straightforward attitude. This was because a customer like him who did not lack spiritual stones and had asked for a private courtyard was definitely not simple. "Young master, please come in. This is the best courtyard in the inn." The waiter led Li Lingtian to a separate courtyard with an elegant environment and respectfully said, Not bad. How many spirit stones do you need a year?" Li Lingtian nodded in satisfaction. He was satisfied with the environment of the courtyard. Furthermore, there was a dense spirit qi here. A small spirit gathering array was constantly gathering spirit qi. A place like this was already good for cultivation, but it was still not good for alchemy. This place could be used as a temporary residence. "Young master, this courtyard costs 30,000 lower spiritual stones a month. If it's a year, you can get a discount." According to the inn's regulations, a year's stay can reduce the spiritual stones for 2 months. That means it's 300,000 lower spiritual stones a year. The waiter was stunned when he heard Li Lingtian's words about the annual spiritual stones. There were also people who stayed in the inn for a year, but they did not stay in a single courtyard. In fact, it was the best single courtyard. "Check it." Without hesitation, Li Lingtian took out 300,000 lower spiritual stones. Usually, he would use a storage bag to store spiritual stones, which usually contain billions of spiritual stones. A spatial treasure like the divine dragon ring was too heaven-defying, and would be too ostentatious to take it out. Soon, the shop assistant finished counting the spirit stones and revealed an excited smile. This time he could get another 3,000 spirit stones as a reward. After keeping the spiritual stones, he respectfully handed the token of this courtyard to Li Lingtian. "Young master, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. If there's anything, just let me know." The shop assistant handed the token to Li Lingtian and asked tentatively. Moreover, he would only be safe if he delivered the spiritual stones to the shopkeeper. "Don't disturb me if you don't have anything to do. One don't like noise." Li Lingtian waved his hand and tossed a medium-grade spiritual stone over. A medium-grade spiritual stone was equivalent to 100 inferior-grade spiritual stones. A warrior spirit shop assistant could be considered lucky to get 100 inferior-grade spiritual stones in one go. "I need a servant. Let's see if you have the ability. If you do a good job, you'll get pills, spirit stones, cultivation techniques, skills, and weapons." Li Lingtian waited for the waiter to leave before he spoke to Qing Yun. This young man was quite talented. He was already a Tier 2 warrior spirit at the age of 15 or 16. If he could follow him, he would definitely give him benefits. "Young master has ordered. This lowly one will not refuse even if it costs my life." Qing Yun knew that Li Lingtian must be an impressive figure when he saw how generous Li Lingtian was. Besides, the people who lived in this place would not lack spiritual stones. "All right, within a day, I want to get the latest news from the 4 David cities and the main city. I also want the latest news from the 4 David cities and the main city's major auction houses. You can do whatever you want with these spirit stones. If you can't do it, you don't have to come back. Li Lingtian tossed out a storage pouch which contained Qingyun's remuneration, as well as the day's expenses. If he could not do it, he would not have hired this young man. Don't worry, young master. I will definitely complete the mission. Qingyun saw that there were as many as 20,000 spirit stones in the storage bag. With so many spirit stones, he would definitely be able to get things done. If he could not do it on his own, he could find someone else to do it. Li Lingtian had offered tens of thousands of spiritual stones in one go. He was not afraid that Li Lingtian would run away. He must have some tricks up his sleeve. Li Lingtian then waved his hand to signal Qingyun to leave. With a wave of his hand, the door to the courtyard closed and a few simple restrictions were cast. If Qingyun could really complete the task within a day, he would be a useful person. Even for him, it was impossible for him to gather the latest information in such a large city like Moonrise City within a day. Unless he used other powers, his test was to test Qingyun's brain and see if he could think of his own way. In the room, Little White was sleeping on the floor while Li Lingtian sat cross-legged. In the past few days he had lost too much. Shun Meier had left, and Yun Yaoyao had disappeared. He had never experienced such a blow before. He gently took off the accessory on his neck. A string of heavenly silk was wearing a thumb-sized bead. The bead did not have any luster, let alone a heavenly spiritual bead. Li Lingtian would not have suspected the quaint bead under normal circumstances. He could only treat it as a souvenir from Yun Yaoyao. But now the way he looked at this pearl had changed. Could this pearl be that heavenly spiritual pearl? How did the old man in black know about it? If it was the heavenly spirit pearl, it would have been on Yun Yaoyao's neck all along. No one else would have known about it. Maple Leaf Manor was established by an ordinary martial artist and had no backing at all. After looking at it carefully for a long time, he still couldn't find anything. He could only hang it around his neck again. No matter what the bead was, he wouldn't lose it because it was given to him by Yun Yaoyao. After sorting out his emotions, he began to cultivate. After dual cultivation, his cultivation had improved greatly, and he had already reached the peak of the 4th level of the martial arts Grandmaster realm. All kinds of skills had also reached the peak. As long as the opportunity came, he would be able to practice Earth-grade skills to the extreme. After taking a quick count of the gains from the ancient cave dwelling, he found that there were quite a few spirit stones. Old Monster Tianming and Old Ghost Ming were both grade 8 experts. It could be said that they had committed all kinds of crimes. They were naturally rich. Just the spiritual stones alone were more than 800 million. The black-robed old man also had more than 100 million spiritual stones. He didn't care about the spirit stones at all. In the end, he kept the spirit stones and medicinal herbs properly. The rest were a few peerless profound armaments and 3 low-grade emperor armaments. Li Lingtian found a fist-sized bead in Old Monster Tianming's storage pouch. It was filled with an extremely dense yin qi. Feeling uncomfortable, Li Lingtian immediately put it into a storage pouch and cast a few seals to seal it inside. It was rare for Li Lingtian to pay attention to imperial weapons. However, Li Lingtian was most interested in the 2 jade slips and the green bead from his trip to the ancient cave mansion. These 3 items were all divided, so he didn't know what the jade slip was. However, he recognized the green pearl. It was the wood spirit pearl from the ancient legends. When a martial artist with a wood-type martial soul used the wood spiritual pearl to cultivate, his cultivation speed would increase by several times. Moreover, the wood spiritual pearl was a heaven and earth spiritual pearl. There was only one in this world. He did not expect to find the wood spirit pearl in the ancient cave dwelling. This wood spirit pearl was also found in the ancient alchemy technique. Of the 2 jade slips, one contained a pill formula. It was a 6th-grade cleansing pill, and it was extremely powerful. The other jade slip was an introduction to the ancient cave dwelling. This ancient cave dwelling was an independent space opened up by an ancient mighty figure. This independent space could only be described as a semi-independent space because it was created by relying on the spatial rift in the soliciting Moon Mountain range. Moreover, this cave abode could not be moved, so it was said to be a semi-independent space. The independent space could be moved, Just like the divine dragon ring and the holy demon ring in his hands, they were both independent space supreme treasures. However, with his cultivation, he could not break the restriction of this jade slip. He could only understand that this jade slip contained everything about the owner of the cave abode. Even a martial arts grandmaster could not enter the jade slip. One could imagine how powerful the owner of the cave abode was. Chapter 244 Chapter 244 Divine Power? God's Wrath. Chapter 244 Divine Power? God's Wrath. He could not use the pill formula with his current strength, and he did not dare to use the pills he refined easily. He couldn't use the jade slip either. This was really tragic. Even this greenwood spiritual pearl was useless to him. The only thing that made him excited was the divine power skill on the stone door, which was a heaven-grade skill. Heaven-rank skills were omnipotent and extremely powerful. Even a martial emperor's forbidden technique might not be as powerful as a heaven-rank skill. Forbidden techniques had a price to pay, but the power of a heaven-rank skill was even stronger than a forbidden technique. Moreover, there was no price to pay. The price was that it would consume a large amount of true essence. The ice soul martial spirit circulated, quickly calming his mind and entering a state of emptiness. In his sea of consciousness, strings of silver characters flashed continuously. These characters quickly linked together and formed a mysterious and obscure chant. Li Lingtian kept memorizing these chants by heart before he opened his eyes and slowly began to comprehend them. Heaven-grade skills were completely different from earth-grade skills. Heaven-grade skills came into contact with the profound divine powers of heaven and earth. As for earth-rank skills, they were ultimately just strength. The wrath of the gods. Heaven-rank skill. Divine wrath of the heavens. After Li Lingtian linked the entire chant together, the skill appeared completely in his mind. The expression on his face also changed drastically. A heaven-rank skill, even its name was so domineering. The light of divine wrath could destroy heaven and earth. This heaven-grade skill was actually divine wrath from the heavens. What was the difference between this light of divine wrath? Following that, Li Lingtian slowly closed his eyes and began to comprehend the divine wrath skill. After a day, Li Lingtian opened his eyes. His expression was calm and emotionless. There was not the slightest change in his expression. However, he sighed softly and his eyes revealed a disappointed expression. Heaven-grade skills are indeed not so easy to cultivate and comprehend. Even, one can only understand a little bit. If it were any other expert from the divine martial continent, they would need decades or centuries to comprehend this heaven-grade skill. If they were unlucky, they would not be able to comprehend it even if they spent their entire lives. However, as long as one have enough time, I can comprehend it. By then it will be much easier to cultivate. Li Lingtian muttered to himself before he tidied his clothes and walked out. When he arrived at the entrance of the courtyard, he saw Qing Yun walking over with an excited expression. He was smiling as well. It was obvious that he had completed Li Lingtian's test. "Young master, I've already completed the task you asked me to do." Qing Yun was taken aback when he saw Li Lingtian at the entrance of the courtyard. It was obvious that Li Lingtian had been waiting at the entrance and had just opened the door. This wasn't a coincidence, but rather, this young master in front of him had long discovered that he had entered the inn. Thinking of this, Qing Yun was extremely surprised. This young man was only 2 years older than him, but he had such a deep cultivation that even he could not see the depth. "Tell me how you handled it." Li Lingtian turned around and entered the courtyard. He sat on a chair and asked Qing Yun, who was standing in front of him, with a bow. He wanted to test Qing Yun to know the process. A good process determined a person's ability. If this person had the ability, he would not care about the process in the future. Instead, he needed the result, a perfect result. This lowly one's strength alone will never be able to complete young master's orders. However, there is strength in numbers. This lowly one has made countless friends who specialize in gathering information. Money makes the world go round. 20,000 low-grade spirit stones. 10,000 low-grade spirit stones for the latest information on the auction house and the superpowers in the 4 major cities. Qing Yun recounted what he had gained in a day, and what he had gone through. However, when he saw Li Lingtian closing his eyes and ignoring him, he began to feel uneasy. He wondered if he would pass Li Lingtian's test. One had to know that it was easy to enter a clan or sect, but it was very difficult to stand out. Entering a sect or family would only make them cannon fodder forever. Moreover, they would not have any cultivation resources. If they could be a subordinate of an expert, it would definitely be better than entering a family. He did not want to lose this opportunity. Otherwise, he would have escaped with the spirit stones. Yes, these are your expenses for this period of time. I want to control all the big and small information about the 4 David cities and the main city. After this period of time has passed, you can arrange your own time to cultivate, but it's best not to delay my matters. Qing Yun had been waiting for Li Lingtian for a long time before Li Lingtian finally spoke. He then tossed a storage pouch over to Qing Yun. Then she waved her hand and did not look at him. This subordinate will do it now. Thank you for your guidance, young master. Qing Yun was excited. This meant that he had passed Li Lingtian's test for the time being, but he would have to work harder in the future. If he did not do well, he would be abandoned. He did not look at the items in the storage pouch because Li Lingtian was generous and would not lack spiritual stones. After bowing, he left the inn and headed for his own residence. Half an hour later, Qing Yun walked into a residential area with an excited smile on his face. In the Wei City, there were powerful martial artists in weak groups. Martial artists like Qing Yun were a weak group. The weak groups were almost all scattered. Countless low-level martial artists lived in places with thin spiritual energy. It was a small courtyard. The entire house had 2 doors and about a dozen rooms. Qingling, I'm back. Qing Yun shouted loudly the moment he entered the courtyard. His voice was filled with excitement. In the past, every time he came back, he would also call Qingling this way. However, this time he was more excited than before because he had found a future and followed a good master. Brother, you're back. A weak voice sounded in the room. A young girl around 15 or 16 years old walked out of the room. The girl's face was pale, like a patient who had been sick for a long time. Moreover, she did not have any cultivation. In the divine martial continent, any normal person would have a cultivation base. For example, this young girl was at least a martial apprentice. However, this young girl did not have any cultivation base at all. However, the young girl had a delicate face and a petite figure. She had developed quite well and looked like a natural beauty. However, her current situation was not very good. Qingling, why did you come out? Hurry up and go in. You can't walk yet. I earned quite a lot of spirit stones today. When the time comes, 1 foot 11 inches buy you some pills that can resist the cold in your body. Seeing Qingling come out, Qing Yun immediately became anxious. He and his sister depended on each other and were orphans since they were young. Most of his spirit stones were used to buy pills to resist the cold for his sister. Otherwise, his cultivation would not be so low. It's true. Actually, Ling Ling also knows that Ling Ling's cold qi is innate and cannot be cured. These few years, I've used up all the spirit stones that I've earned and implicated you. In the future, don't waste spirit stones on Ling Ling. Qingling returned to the chair in the courtyard and sat down. Her small face was pale as she stared at Qing Yun with her bright eyes. What are you talking about? You're my sister. If you're not around, there's no point in me being alone. I've been outside for the past 2 days. I've been accepting a mission. If I do well, one won't be short of spirit stones in the future. Take a look. Qing Yun took out 2,000 low-grade spirit stones and revealed an excited expression. These 2,000 spiritual stones were the 20,000 spiritual stones that Li Lingtian had given him. 20,000 spiritual stones and 18,000 lower spiritual stones were used to bribe the brothers who had inquired about the news, while his 2,000 spiritual stones were considered earned by himself. Wow, so many spirit stones. Brother, you must not do anything that betrays your conscience. It should be some senior who has taken a fancy to brother's intelligence. Qingling looked at the 2,000 spiritual stones and was stunned. In the past, she had only seen a few hundred spiritual stones at most. She didn't expect there to be so many this time. However, when she was excited, she was also worried that her brother would do evil. Then, he thought of his brother's intelligence. It should be that senior who saw his brother's intelligence. I know. But that person is not a senior but a young master, not much older than me. Qing Yun was envious when he thought of Li Lingtian's appearance. Judging from Li Lingtian's generosity, he should be a disciple of an aristocratic family. Oh! Qing Ling's face revealed a curious expression. Her brother had never interacted with those young masters, but this time he was actually working for a young master. She was curious about that young master. Wait a minute. I still have a mission. Let's see how many spirit stones young master will give me. Qing Yun recalled the storage pouch that Li Lingtian had given him, and his curiosity was piqued. He did not know how much money it would cost. It was definitely not something that a few people could do to get hold of all the information about the 4 great cities and the main cities. After she finished speaking, she sent her divine sense into the storage bag. However, when her divine sense entered the storage bag, her expression changed drastically. Qingling didn't know what her brother had seen to have such a shocked expression. 500,000 lower spiritual stones. Qing Yun withdrew his divine sense. His expression was still shocked as he muttered to himself softly. 500,000 low-grade spirit stones. To him, he had never seen so many spirit stones before. Now that these spirit stones were at his disposal, how could he not be shocked? 500,000. Qingling was also shocked. 500,000 low-grade spirit stones was an astronomical figure to them. It was like a poor person who had won 5 million. That's right. It's 500,000 low-grade spirit stones. Qing Yun's voice was a little trembling. So many spirit stones were actually given to him just like that. Wasn't he afraid that he would escape? His heart was in a mess. After a full 10 minutes, his heart finally calmed down a little. Since the other party dared to give him so many spirit stones to manage, it must be because he liked him. If he was moved by 500,000 spirit stones, he would not be Qing Yun. Then his divine sense entered the storage bag again, because he saw that there were 2 weapons and 2 jade bottles inside. With a flick of his divine sense, the jade bottle and the weapon appeared in front of him. They were both peerless spirit weapons. He had only seen such a treasure in the hands of other martial artists, but he had never come into contact with a spirit weapon. Chapter 245 Chapter 245 Top-Notch Cave Abode. Chapter 245 Top-Notch Cave Abode. Second Grade Spirit Binding Pill. After seeing the spiritual weapon, the siblings were shocked. To be able to give away a spiritual weapon like this, what kind of person was this? He looked at the jade bottle with curiosity. A medicinal pill appeared in his hand, and a dense medicinal fragrance wafted out. When Qing Yun was trying to break through to the warrior spirit realm, he had also used all sorts of methods to obtain a grade 2 spirit binding pill. Now that he saw this pill, he was extremely shocked. Both bottles were thawing spirit pills. Moreover, this thawing spirit pill was a peerless medicinal pill. The one he used before was only of ordinary quality. The difference between the two was completely heaven and earth. The 2 of them were stunned. They all knew the legend of peerless pills, but they didn't expect young master to actually take out a peerless pill for them. Big brother, don't let young master down in the future. Qingling didn't have any cultivation, but she was the first to react and said seriously to Qing Yun. While the siblings were still in shock, Li Lingtian closed his eyes to cultivate. He had already decided to improve his cultivation base as soon as possible. Furthermore, he had to increase the strength of the demon beasts. At the same time, he had to find out about Yun Yaoyao's murder. The appearance of the heavenly spiritual pearl and the destruction of the Maple Leaf Manor definitely wouldn't be so simple. However, he was alone now. The only thing he could do was to nurture the strength of his subordinates. He would first go into seclusion to cultivate, refine pills, and develop his forces. Although Moonrise City was powerful, it was considered a small place after the entire Azure continent. A place like this was perfect for his own development. As the days passed, Li Lingtian's divine ability, divine wrath of heaven's descent, had made some progress. However, he was unable to cultivate it. During this period of time, He had studied the Heavenly Yao pill once. He could raise a 4th grade Heavenly Yao pill to 5th grade or even 6th grade. His alchemy skills had also been continuously improved, and he could also easily refine a 5th grade God-restoring pill. The improvement of his alchemy skills also allowed him to find a clue. He could start on alchemy. Didn't he have alchemy skills? He could refine magical pills to attract experts, and use alchemy skills to strengthen demon beasts and himself. These days, Qing Yun's work had satisfied him. Under Qing Yun, there were hundreds of low-level disciples. Low-level disciples were the best members to gather information. Because in this world, the majority of people were still low-level. As long as you had spirit stones, you could bring out the shocking power of the most trashy forces. Go and see if there are any caves for sale in Moonrise City. One want the best one for cultivation. Also find me a maid. As long as she can talk to me when I'm not cultivating and prepare some medicinal herbs for me when I'm refining pills, that'll be enough. Li Lingtian was in the courtyard. He was satisfied with Qing Yun's improvement in cultivation and his clean handling of matters. The price you want is more or less affordable. There are cave abodes for sale in Moonrise City. They are public resources in Moonrise City and are very expensive. Qing Yun was stunned for a moment before he understood what was going on. He was shocked and excited because the pill he used was refined by his young master, and the pill's aura was related to Li Lingtian. To refine a good pill, one naturally needed a quiet cave abode. There were precious cave abodes in Moonrise City, but they were very expensive. As long as you have the best. I don't need trash. Li Lingtian said coldly. He could tolerate it in other aspects, but he could not tolerate it in the cave abode. A cave abode could affect one's cultivation and pill refinement. This subordinate will do it now, do it now. When Qing Yun saw Li Lingtian's expression, he immediately realized that he had made a mistake. Since his young master was not lacking in spiritual stones, he would not want a trashy abode. With that, he slipped out as if he had 2 extra legs when he left. Li Lingtian smiled as he watched Qing Yun leave. The way he did things was out of the ordinary, so Qing Yun naturally could not figure it out. He then walked into the room and sat down cross-legged. He looked at the jade slip in his hand. He had already refined the Tier 5 Azure Yang pill, but he could not refine a Tier 4 Peerless pill. Hey! Sighing, he put down the jade slip and started to circulate the heaven and earth reincarnation technique. The true essence in his body circulated rapidly and finally entered his dantian. With every big circulation, his cultivation increased a little. Although it was not obvious, it was improving. 3 days later, Qing Yun came to Li Lingtian and told him that he had found the cave abode. It was a top-notch cave abode at the edge of the main city. Li Lingtian did not say anything and walked out of the courtyard. Qing Yun quickly led the way. Once they were out of the inn, they called for a beast carriage and the beast carriage sped toward the edge of the main city. The Wei City was 20,000 miles in size. Even if the beast carriage continued to run, it would still take 2 hours to reach the edge of the main city. However, this cave abode was within the boundaries of the main city. To enter the main city, one needed a special token. Li Lingtian's face cracked into a smile. Fortunately, he had gotten this token the last time he applied for it. Otherwise, he would have been stopped outside this time. Take this token. Li Lingtian handed the token to Qing Yun. Only by flashing this token could one enter the building. 2. So young master had already prepared this token. Qing Yun took the token and muttered to himself. When he passed by the main city's gate, there was indeed someone checking the level of the token. Soon the beast carriage stopped in front of a square. This square was 100 miles wide and was filled with martial artists. The most common place was in front of a huge crystal stone. This crystal stone was at least 10 meters tall and 100 meters long. There were countless small words on it, all of which were missions. As long as someone completed the mission on it, they would receive a reward for the mission. Li Lingtian did not stop. Instead, he asked Qing Yun to lead him to a room. There was no one at the counter in the room, but the other places were crowded with people. Most of them were people who accepted missions or handed in missions. Welcome, Your Excellency. I am Gong Sunhao. Is there anything I can help you with? Gong Sunhao smiled when he saw someone coming forward. This place was specially used to sell and manage cave abodes. Usually no one would come for days or even months. Give me a top-grade cave abode, the best kind, Li Lingtian replied calmly with a harmless smile on his face. However, Gong Sunhao's expression changed drastically when he heard Li Lingtian's words. Was this not a joke? The young man in front of him didn't look like he was looking for fun. It was too much of a joke to ask for a top-grade cave abode. There were 99 top-grade cave abodes in Moonrise City, and they were all places with the densest spiritual energy. Each cave mansion occupied a total of 2 miles in size, with a special geocentric spirit vein and geocentric fire. It was definitely a paradise for cultivation. However, the price of this cave abode was shocking. Even super sects only had one qualification. The others needed huge amounts of spirit stones to live in. A top-grade cave abode. The best. Gong Sunhao could not help but be stunned. He asked Li Lingtian to see if he was right. How could a young man have so many spirit stones to live in such a cave abode? Even the super geniuses of super sects would use them to break through to the next realm for a period of time. Not bad. Li Lingtian nodded. He did not want to say another word or cause trouble here. There are a few top-grade cave abodes and they are in the best locations. However, they are very expensive. More importantly, this cave abode is based on years, not months. Top-grade cave abode. 10 million lower spiritual stones a year. Seeing that Li Lingtian did not seem to be joking, Gong Sunhao became serious. He was curious to see if the young man would be shocked by the price. However, to his disappointment, the smile on Li Lingtian's face did not change at all. It was as if 10 million was just 1,000 spiritual stones. I want it, 10 years. Li Lingtian's divine perception entered the storage pouch and quickly counted the countless spiritual stones before putting them into another storage pouch. After a short while, he handed the storage pouch to Gong Sunhao. What? What? Both Gong Sunhao and Qing Yun exclaimed in surprise. Initially, they thought that Li Lingtian would give up since it was 10 million lower spiritual stones a year. Even those martial royal realm experts would not dare to use spirit stones like this. Furthermore, a young man like Li Lingtian would find it hard to fork out 10 million. He never expected Li Lingtian to take it and even give it 10 years in one go. Wasn't that too scary? Qing Yun knew that Li Lingtian was not lacking in spiritual stones, but he did not expect Li Lingtian to fork out 100 million spiritual stones to live in a cave abode. Moreover, it would cost him 100 million spiritual stones for 10 years. What was 100 million? It could buy a small family and sect. I'll handle the procedures for you now. Li Lingtian did not say anything but nodded his head gently. Gong Sunhao would be a fool if he did not understand what was going on. This young man must be the second-generation heir of a super sect. With such a good opportunity, he would not let it go. He quickly went through the formalities and a token was handed to Li Lingtian in no time. He was waiting for the spiritual stones. Let's count it. Li Lingtian had already cleared out 100 million lower spiritual stones when Gong Sunhao was handling the paperwork. Gong Sunhao had a smile on his face as he quickly counted the spirit stones with his divine sense. Qing Yun was stunned by the 100 million spirit stones. That's right. 100 million spirit stones. I'll take you to see the cave abode. If you're not satisfied, we can exchange it for another one. Gong Sunhao put away the spiritual stones and quickly walked through the stone door at the back of the room. In less than a minute, he came out again with an old man who took his place. Meanwhile, Gong Sunhao led Li Lingtian and Li Lingtian to the other side of the square. There was no one who did not like such a rich person. Li Lingtian followed behind them at a moderate pace. He was looking forward to what kind of cave abode it would cost 10 million lower spiritual stones a year. However, he soon saw the cave abode he wanted, and his face revealed a satisfied expression. Chapter 246 Chapter 246 Young Girl Qingling. Chapter 246 Young Girl Qingling. A short-distance teleportation array brought the three of them to a cave abode. This teleportation formation was dedicated to every top-grade cave abode. There was a short-distance teleportation formation in front of every top-grade cave abode. This was also for the convenience of the experts in the top-grade cave abode. In front of him, the spiritual energy was extremely dense. Within a light barrier was a garden. With one hand on his body, Li Lingtian activated the restriction with his token. The three of them walked in and found the garden to be filled with extremely dense spiritual qi. This was only the outside of the cave abodes. Each cave abode was 2 miles in size, and there were only 11 top-grade cave abodes in this place. After passing through the garden, there was a huge stone door. Behind the stone door there was a world. Although it was a stone room, it was bright inside. There was no darkness at all. There was a huge living room, and on both sides of the living room were more than 10 rooms of different sizes. There was a deep passage that was 50 meters long. After passing through the passage, there was a stone room with a radius of 40 square meters. This should be where the master of the cave abode lived, because there were only 3 smaller rooms next to this room. Li Lingtian sized up the cave abode. There was a rather large garden in the cave abode, and a place where the demonic beasts lived. This place could be said to have everything. It was completely a paradise. Not bad, this is it. Li Lingtian nodded. 10 million a year was worth it. Not only were there places for demon beasts to live, but there were also places for refining pills and weapons. Moreover, every room had a small spirit gathering array. This way cultivation would be twice as effective. Then one wish you a great improvement in your cultivation. I'll take my leave first. If you have any questions, just let me know. Money could make the world go round. Li Lingtian had to be polite when he took out 100 million to rent this top-notch cave abode. Go ahead. Li Lingtian waved his hand to signal for Gongsun Hao to leave. He would stay here and cultivate. Gongsun Hao bowed and left. He did not expect Li Lingtian to be so easy to talk to. If it were the powerhouses who lived in the top cave abodes in the past, they would be extremely picky and difficult to please like a lord. Have you settled my matter? Li Lingtian looked at Qing Yun. This cave abode was so big that it was impossible for him to take care of it himself. He had to find a maid to do the chores. Young master, this subordinate has already found a maidservant. This subordinate has a little sister who is 1 year younger than this subordinate. She is 15 years old this year and can serve young master. This way, with little sister by young master's side, this subordinate doesn't need to worry about little sister. Qing Yun pondered for a moment before he pushed Qingling's name out. When Li Lingtian asked him to find a maidservant in cave abode, he had thought of his sister Qingling. If Qingling was by his young master's side, he would be at ease. He and his sister depended on each other for survival. He had to run around outside every day while Qingling was alone at home. He was not at ease at all. Moreover, his little sister's cold qi had acted up these few years. She might be attacked by the cold qi and die at any time. As he spoke, his face revealed a pleading expression. Tell me about your family. Li Lingtian did not show any expression. No matter where he was, it was nepotism. It was the same in his past life and this life. If there was anything good, the first thing that came to mind would naturally be the people or relatives that he was familiar with. However, he wanted to know the background of Qing Yun and his sister. This subordinate and my little sister are orphans. We rely on each other. Seeing that Li Lingtian did not object, Qing Yun's heart calmed down a little. He then told him about his relationship with Qingling. If he wanted to work under young master, he definitely couldn't play any tricks. If such a figure hid anything, it would definitely be seen through. At that time, he would not be able to outsmart himself. Send her here tomorrow. Li Lingtian waved his hand as he finished speaking and began to scan the entire cave abode with his divine perception. After wiping out all the auras and restrictions here, his own array master naturally would not use other people's array restrictions. Moreover, he also looked down on other people's array formations. Be it in terms of power or defense, it was impossible for them to surpass his. Moreover, if he didn't remove the restrictions that others had cast, he might be monitored. Qing Yun also quickly left the cave abode and ran towards Wei City. His sister's matter had been resolved, and he felt extremely relaxed. 5 elements yin-yang formation. 9 palaces 8 trigrams formation. 2 elements spirit gathering formation. One array after another was cast, and even the light shield of the garden outside was completely replaced. This place was brand new. Countless formations of various sizes increased the safety of the cave dwelling by countless times. Without his permission, even the strongest martial artist could not break his formation in a short time. After everything was done, he returned to the innermost room, which was also the master's room. His cultivation could not be disturbed. In the passage he also cast a restriction. In his room there was also a heaven-grade array formation. All these things were done with ease. After he was done, he soaked in the natural pool in the cave for a while, feeling extremely refreshed. I can finally cultivate in peace. Li Lingtian looked at the cave abode. He did not have to worry about the issue of spiritual qi or safety when refining pills. There was also a place for cultivation and a dedicated practice room. Even divine arts might not be able to destroy this training room. Returning to his room, he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. On the second day, while Li Lingtian was cultivating, there was a slight fluctuation in the array outside. Li Lingtian was able to identify the intruder at once through the inhibition formation. With a wave of his hand, a mysterious light shadow appeared. The light shadow quickly flew towards the array and closed all the restrictions. Qingyun carefully walked in. Behind him was a 15 or 16-year-old girl. The girl's small face was pale and devoid of blood. Qingling, wait here for a moment. Young master should be cultivating. After Qingyun brought Qingling to the living room, the two of them sat in the living room and waited. Looking at the shockingly dense spiritual energy in the cave abode, Qingyun's face revealed an envious expression. If he cultivated here for a day, it was equivalent to cultivating outside for a few days. Being able to live here was also a symbol of status. In Moonrise City, there were only 99 such caves, and his young master occupied one. He was relieved because his sister's safety was at least resolved. However, Qingling's heart was pounding nonstop. She had never imagined such a cave. She wondered what the young master her brother was talking about looked like. Could he be a hot-tempered expert? The most important thing was whether she could stay. If she couldn't stay, her brother would be even more worried. While she was worrying, she heard the sound of soft footsteps coming from the passage. Hearing these footsteps, Qingyun hurriedly stood up. Qingling also stood up, feeling extremely nervous. A 17 or 18-year-old young man walked out. The young man was dressed in white and looked elegant. He gave off a mysterious aura, making people feel a sense of closeness, but also a sense of ethereal. Young master. Qingyun bowed respectfully. However, when he saw his sister staring at Li Lingtian with a dazed expression, he was shocked. If his young master was angry, his sister's matter would be ruined. He quickly reached out to pull Qingling. Greetings, young master. My daughter is Qingling. Qingling bowed. Her petite body was like a beauty. However, she didn't have any cultivation and her face was pale, giving people a sense of beauty. Seeing Li Lingtian come out, Qingling's mind was in complete contrast to her previous thoughts. She began to think about many things, but she did not expect the young master her brother mentioned to be a 17 or 18-year-old youth. With such a natural and elegant temperament, there was no girl who would not be moved by him. Yes. Li Lingtian nodded as his gaze fell on Qingling. He was stunned. Qingyun had mentioned Qingling's matter yesterday, but he did not expect it to be so serious. With his cultivation and insight, coupled with his powerful alchemy skills, he naturally saw through Qingling's situation. Before the siblings could react, Li Lingtian waved his hand and a beam of light enveloped Qingling. The light then entered her body. Again. After a moment, Li Lingtian retracted the light and muttered to himself. Qingling didn't have the 9 terminal meridians, but she was still affected by the cold. What a coincidence! Yun Yaoyao was like this and now Qingling was like this too. Could it be that all the girls in this world like to be attacked by the cold? You go and do your own thing. Wait for 2 days when this young master is free to solve her problem. Li Lingtian replied calmly before closing his eyes to meditate. No one knew what he was thinking. Thank you, young master. Thank you, young master. Qingyun was startled and was immediately pleasantly surprised. Not only could his sister stay, But she could also possibly cure the cold that had been difficult to resist for the past few years. For a moment, she was so happy that she couldn't recover. Qingling was also stunned. Only she herself understood the pain of the cold invasion. When Qingyun was around, she pretended to be relaxed, but the pain of the cold invasion made her wish she was dead. If he could really solve the problem of the cold qi, he would no longer be invaded by the cold qi and could cultivate like a normal person. Thank you, young master. Qingling bowed respectfully to Li Lingtian and watched her brother leave. The young master had closed his eyes to cultivate and did not have any intention of speaking. Instead, he began to survey the cave abode. But apart from this living room, she couldn't go anywhere else because there were restrictions everywhere. From now on, you'll be in charge of this place. Li Lingtian shot a mysterious light shadow at Qingling with one hand. Immediately, a mysterious and obscure spell appeared in Qingling's mind. When she walked again, the restrictions here did not affect her at all. Qingling was excited. As long as she could settle young master's matters, she could cultivate here. It was absolutely perfect to cultivate in such a paradise. Without the restrictions, Qingling looked around the entire cave. She needed to manage this place herself, so she naturally had to familiarize herself with it. Chapter 247 Chapter 247 Wait. 1. Chapter 247 Wait. 1. After a full 10 minutes, Qingling finished sizing up the entire cave, her face filled with shock. How many spirit stones did this cave abode cost? It was actually so big. There were more than 10 rooms, a place to wash up, and a kitchen. Could be said that it had everything. In the future, don't disturb me when I'm refining pills and cultivating. You can stay in the room inside. When the time comes, I will cure the cold in your body. Li Lingtian waited for Qingling to finish sizing up the cave abode before opening his eyes. He then told her about the things to take note of in the cave abode. He was cultivating alone, so finding a maid was just to tidy up the place. It was better than facing the cold cave abode after cultivating alone. Cultivation and life were synchronized. If one did not know how to enjoy themselves, there was no need to cultivate. This servant will follow young master's instructions. Qingling bowed politely. She was also curious, but she didn't expect that she didn't have anything to do here. She just wanted to help arrange the cave dwelling. Ordinary experts would cultivate in seclusion for a few days or months. To experts, a cave abode was just a place to settle down. Alright, tidy up this cave abode. As long as you don't remove the restrictions, it'll be fine. Take this pill and cultivate. It can suppress the cold qi in your body. After Li Lingtian finished speaking, he walked into the room with Qingling following behind him. Finally, Li Lingtian handed a bottle of pills to Qingling. He had also found these pills in the storage bags of other martial artists. He did not need these pills. Qingling's face revealed a hint of happiness. She only reacted after Li Lingtian entered the room. Her residence was right next door to Li Lingtian's. This was the most basic requirement for a maid, as she had to be summoned at all times. Qingyun was outside arranging for any news to be sent to Li Lingtian's cave abode as soon as possible. Qingling was the one who relayed the news to Li Lingtian as he was cultivating. Time passed day by day and 10 days passed. After 10 days, Qingling had familiarized herself with this place and was no longer restrained. She was also curious about this young master. He didn't put on airs at all and treated her very well, giving off a friendly feeling. Usually, Qingling would cultivate or cook by herself. After Li Lingtian finished cultivating, she would talk to him. She helped Li Lingtian wash his clothes, take care of the plants in the garden, and tidy up the cave abode. These things were like relaxing for Qingling. Furthermore, she had gained the most from her trip here. She could ask Li Lingtian for the endless supply of pills and any questions she had about cultivation. Furthermore, with Li Lingtian's pills, he was able to suppress the chill in his body. His entire body had recovered. At least, he was no longer suffering from the chill's invasion and his face was rosy. She was a beautiful little beauty. With such a little beauty accompanying him, he could enjoy his cultivation. Qingling, your mood will be stable today. This young master is free tonight and will help you expel the cold. After dinner, Li Lingtian took out more than 10 spirit fruits from the divine dragon ring. Although they were only 10-year-old, Qingling had never seen such spirit fruits before. She was instantly excited and her face was filled with envy. Such a spiritual fruit was rarely seen in Moonrise City. Even if there was one, it would be expensive. However, as a maid, she did not dare to use these spiritual fruits. However, when she saw Li Lingtian's signal, her face lit up. A little girl was a little girl indeed. She had completely forgotten her restraints when she was happy. However, Li Lingtian preferred it this way. He did not like to be restrained. Moreover, it would spoil the mood if a little beauty were to be restrained in front of him. While eating this spirit fruit, he said to Qingling, "At night? Where is it?" Qingling couldn't help but be startled. When a girl heard a man say night in front of her, it was a subconscious reflex. "Yes, I'll talk about it after I finish cultivating. You can just wait in the room." Li Lingtian was half lying on the chair, and did not notice Qingling's reaction or look at her expression. However, she didn't know that Qingling's little face was flushed red. She was already mentally prepared. As a maid, her entire being belonged to her master. Moreover, his young master was a handsome and elegant man. There was no girl in the world who wouldn't fall for a figure like his young master. However, she was still a little girl and was extremely shy. Naturally, Li Lingtian did not know that his words had been misinterpreted. He did not know how much he meant by his words. "Yes." Qingling nodded softly, her heart thumping non-stop. Then, he quickly left and returned to his room. Li Lingtian was stunned when he saw Qingling's expression. However, how could he understand a little girl's thoughts? Naturally, he did not care. After Qingling left, Li Lingtian practiced all sorts of skills in the practice room. Although he had not reached the transcendent state, he was at the edge of it. At night, Li Lingtian's brows furrowed tightly. He was still unable to fully comprehend the divine power skill, divine wrath. For hours had passed and he felt that it was already late at night. Just as he was about to lie down and sleep, he suddenly remembered that he had said that he would help Qingling expel the cold. Thinking of this, he stood up and walked out of the room. When he arrived outside Qingling's room, the stone door didn't have any restrictions. It was just blocked by a brocade cloth. When Li Lingtian arrived at the door, he stopped in his tracks. It was too late for a young man like him to enter Qingling's room. But thinking about how Qingling was his maid, it was fine for him to help her expel the cold. Then he pushed it aside and walked in. However, when he entered, he was stunned. A girl's room, no matter if it was in a mountain or a cave, was always the warmest. Shunmeier was like this and now Qingling was like this. This originally empty stone room had been turned into a warm boudoir by Qingling. It was impossible to tell that this was a stone room. Qingling sat on the bed and waited for Li Lingtian. She was extremely nervous. Even though Li Lingtian said that he was helping her to get rid of the cold, something would definitely happen if they were alone at night. She would not regret giving her pure body to her young master. However, she was still too nervous. Time passed slowly but Li Lingtian did not come over. She thought that Li Lingtian had forgotten about her. When Li Lingtian entered, he was even more nervous. His fair little hands were constantly twisting the corner of his clothes. "How is it? I told you to suppress the cold energy in one place. Why didn't you cultivate today?" Li Lingtian walked up to Qingling and felt the warmth in the room. His heart was beating fast. But when he realized that Qingling's cold energy wasn't suppressed, he was a little unhappy. "Yes." Qingling nodded. She was so nervous that she didn't have the mood to suppress the cold energy. She didn't circulate her energy to suppress the cold energy. "Forget it. I'll help you." Li Lingtian shook his head and sat cross-legged on the bed. Qingling's body trembled. Her young master sat on his bed and thought of many things. However, she did not expect Li Lingtian to wave his hands continuously and cast a series of magic arts on her. Her entire body was levitated as she sat across from Li Lingtian. The two of them sat on the bed and the atmosphere in the room was extremely ambiguous. After a moment, Qingling finally understood that she had misunderstood. Li Lingtian's eyes were filled with seriousness and he did not have any other thoughts. Streams of warm true essence flowed through his body, and the cold air was quickly condensed. After an unknown amount of time, Qingling felt the cold air being sucked away by a force. Oh! Without any strength left in her body, she fell onto the bed right in Li Lingtian's arms. Li Lingtian did not expect this to happen either. How could his blood not boil when he had such a beautiful little beauty in his arms, especially on the bed? Yes. A tender moan came out from Qingling's small mouth. Her small face was red and she looked extremely shy. It was her misconception at first, but now that she was in Li Lingtian's arms, her body trembled as if she had been electrocuted. She had never been in contact with a man before, but now she was in the arms of the young master. Her heartbeat sped up, and a hint of charm appeared in her lively eyes. She had completely forgotten about everything. However, Li Lingtian let go of Qingling at that moment. With a smile on his face, he left Qingling in a flash. Rest well for this young master. When your body is fully recovered, come and accompany this young master. Li Lingtian left the room and walked toward the pool in the cave abode. He plunged into the pool and the cold water extinguished his fiery heat. Qingling had just expelled the cold energy and her body was weak. She needed to rest for a while. He had to cultivate as well because that ball of cold air was still in his body. He had to refine it. This little girl was only 15 years old and had developed well. She was a rare beauty, but he had to take care of her body. There would be plenty of time in the future, so there was naturally no rush. He stayed in the pool for a full 10 minutes before he got up. After changing his clothes, he hurried to his room. When he passed by Qingling's room, Li Lingtian did not make a sound. After a short pause, he returned to his room. After cultivating for a day, he naturally needed to rest. He lay on the bed and fell asleep. To him, what happened just now was just a small episode. In the next room, Qingling's face was flushed red. She was still immersed in the scene just now. Chapter 248 Chapter 248 Taking in Qingling. Chapter 248 Taking in Qingling. Even though Li Lingtian had left for a long time, Qingling was still immersed in her previous state. Thinking of his situation just now, he felt so ashamed that he couldn't even hide his face. However, this feeling made him intoxicated and lose his direction. When Li Lingtian left, a deep desire arose in his heart. He longed for the young master to stay. However, when he recalled Li Lingtian's final words, he was still looking forward to accompanying his young master when he recovered. She lay on the bed and fell asleep unknowingly. The next day, Li Lingtian cultivated as usual. When Qingling woke up and saw Li Lingtian's clothes by the pool, she quickly washed them and hung them to dry. On this day, Qingling had been worried. She was worried that if she met young master, she would die of shame. Fortunately, what she was worried about did not happen, but she was also a little disappointed. In order to improve the quality of the heavenly monster pill, Li Lingtian had to elevate its level to grade 5. 3 days passed. During these 3 days, Qingling gradually adapted to the new environment, but she still cultivated more. She did not have a cultivation base, but after coming to the cave abode, Li Lingtian had imparted an earth-ranked cultivation method to her. Now that she had no cold qi, she could cultivate very quickly. Together with Li Lingtian's pills, he reached Tier 7 warrior apprentice in 3 days. This speed was several times stronger than those geniuses. Young master, big brother has sent a message. Please take a look. With the jade slip in her hand, Qingling walked lightly to Li Lingtian's room door. Her little face was flushed and she looked unnatural. This was the first time she had seen Li Lingtian ever since the incident last time. She could not avoid Li Lingtian's presence when she received news from Qingyun, so she had no choice but to deliver the news to him. Come in. Li Lingtian slowly stopped his cultivation and opened his eyes to look at the little beauty before him. After the cold air was expelled, he had completely recovered and was exuding an alluring youthful aura. However, when he saw Qingling's shy expression, he waved his hand and called out. He naturally knew that Qingling was shy, but this little beauty's appearance made him even more tempted. Yes. Qingling gave a soft hum, before she slowly walked toward Li Lingtian. Her heart was thumping and she felt extremely shy when she thought about how she was a few days ago. Li Lingtian took the jade slip and inserted his divine consciousness into it to filter the information inside. It was filled with the latest news about Moonrise City. Moonrise City was still the same as before, but what interested him was the auction that was going to be held in 5 days. This auction was the grandest one in soliciting Moon City. It was held once every 5 years. Qingling watched Li Lingtian from the side. Her heart was moved by his focus and seriousness. During this period of time, he had also learned a little about the young master's personality. Although his methods were magical and his strength was deep, he was an amiable youth. She was elegant and graceful, giving off a feeling of intimacy. Unknowingly, she was getting closer to Li Lingtian and her delicate body was already leaning against him. Yes, we naturally can't let such a thing go. Li Lingtian withdrew his divine consciousness from the jade slip with a smile on his face. It had been quite some time since he came to the Azure continent, but this was his first time in Moonrise City. Naturally, they would not let go of such an auction. Moonrise City was even more powerful than the Azure continent. The treasures in the auction, which was held once every 5 years, were naturally extremely precious. After he finished speaking, he kept the jade slip but found that Qingling was already leaning against him. The smile on his face became evil, and a faint fragrance reached his nose. He reached out and pulled Qingling into his embrace. "Auction, do you want to go?" Li Lingtian asked after Qingling had helped him tidy up his clothes. In the past, Qingling was rather embarrassed. However, after what had happened with Li Lingtian, she had let go. As Li Lingtian's maid, it was normal for her to serve him. Moreover, she would be satisfied even if she was a maid-to-be with Li Lingtian. There was no woman in the world who would not fall for a genius like Li Lingtian, who was elegant and powerful. "Young master, are you bringing Qingling?" Qingling was excited when she heard Li Lingtian's words. She had never been to such a place before. She was always in her room and had to endure the pain of the cold. Now that she was with Li Lingtian, she was extremely happy every day. However, she did not dare to disobey Li Lingtian. She knew her identity and no matter what, she was still a young master. "If you're going, then go. Change into a set of beautiful clothes." Li Lingtian looked at Qingling's attire and found it somewhat shabby. It would be embarrassing for him to go out and see a beautiful lady dressed in such shabby attire. Although she was born beautiful, she still needed to dress up. "My clothes are all like this." Qingling lowered her head and said softly. In the past, when she followed her brother, the spirit stones that her brother earned were all used to buy pills that could resist the cold. She still had extra spiritual stones to buy beautiful clothes. Besides, she rarely went out of Li Lingtian's cave abode, and did not care about her clothes. Because she knew that her appearance needed clothes to complement it. "Let's go. I'll bring you to buy some. Take this spirit stone and buy whatever you need in the future." Li Lingtian glanced at Qingling. This little girl had suffered a lot. Now that he had encountered her, it was no problem for him to obtain spiritual stones. His spirit sense entered the storage bag and found a random storage bag. He took it out and handed it to Qingling. He didn't know how many spirit stones were inside, but he knew that there were at least 1 million spirit stones in this storage bag. There were billions of spirit stones in his storage bag. 10,000,100,000,1 million, and even 10 million. He did not want to count the spirit stones during the transaction. His wealth was more than 40 billion, so he did not care about this little bit. Moreover, he wouldn't know about the spirit stones in the storage bag of the warriors he killed. He would use them as tips or use them. "Thank you, young master." Qingling happily accepted the storage pouch and planted a kiss on Li Lingtian's cheek with her rosy lips. She looked extremely happy. She was jumping around like a child. In fact, she was only a child. 15 years old, she was just a little girl. Soon after, Li Lingtian left the cave abode with Qingling and headed toward Moonrise City. She could act coquettishly in front of Li Lingtian when there was no one around, but she was a qualified maid outside. On the bustling street, people were coming and going, and there were countless hawking sounds. Seeing such a lively street, Qingling was extremely excited. She rarely came out in the past, and under the invasion of the cold air, she didn't have the mood to appreciate these things. Now that the chill was gone, he had some cultivation and countless spiritual stones on him. Coupled with the nourishment from Li Lingtian, he was as happy as a little bird. On the way, he saw that there were more than 1,000,000 spirit stones in his bag of holding. He was extremely excited. Young master, wait. I want to buy this. Young master, what do you think of this? This is so beautiful. What? 100 low-grade spirit stones? All right then. I want this. Li Lingtian's ears were filled with Qingling's happy voice. He could only smile wryly. Why was it that girls were so tireless when they were shopping? He was now a strong person, but he was already feeling tired. The women in his previous life usually went shopping for a few hours. Now he was a little impressed by those men. Aren't they tired after a few hours? However, he was very happy to be with this little beauty because he did not have the slightest worry, Chapter 249 Chapter 249 Condensing Light Mirror. Chapter 249 Condensing Light Mirror. At this moment, a discordant voice sounded. I like this one. I want everything here. A crisp voice reached Li Lingtian's ears as he turned around to look behind. She saw a 20-year-old woman looking at Qingling with disdain. Beside her was a man in embroidered clothes. The one who spoke was the young woman. The woman could be considered a beauty, but her aura gave people a sense of disgust. I asked for this first. Qingling had an aggrieved expression. She was an orphan since young, so she could only endure when faced with such a strong force. However, Li Lingtian had doted on her during this period of time, and allowed her to enjoy the happiness that other girls should have. He was not pleased with the woman's words. Furthermore, since he liked the things that he had set his eyes on, he would not give them away so easily. Why? Look at you. You still have the qualifications to snatch things from me? The young woman looked at the cheap clothes on Qingling's body and revealed a look of disdain, but more than that, she was jealous. Because she realized that this little girl was extremely beautiful. Even if she wore cheap clothes, they could not hide her beauty and temperament. Hee, sisterling, I want to go back to this little girl. I happen to be missing a maid. Do you know who 1 am? Apologize to my sister Ling and let her be my maid. In the future, she will enjoy endless glory and wealth. The embroidered robed man's eyes revealed an evil look as he kept scanning Qingling's body. His eyeballs were about to pop out. It wouldn't be a pity if he didn't get a little beauty like her on his bed. Moreover, this little girl was dressed like a poor person. With her identity and family background, it was naturally easy to capture her. When it was in his hands, he could play with it as he pleased. Cousin, you have bad intentions again. When the young woman saw the man in embroidered clothes, she naturally knew that her cousin had taken a fancy to this little fox. How could she not know what kind of person her cousin was? She was even more jealous of this little girl in front of her. If he had this little fox, how would he be able to establish himself in the future? Don't worry, it's just for fun. The embroidered robed man walked in front of Qingling. The evil smile on his face became even wider. He could already imagine this beautiful little girl moaning under his body. Such a beautiful little girl must be very fun to play with. Li Lingtian had been watching the man in embroidered clothes and the young woman from the front with a faint smile on his face. A murderous intent rose in his heart. Qingling's expression slowly became aggrieved. Countless people surrounded her to watch the show, and her young master was nowhere to be seen. You dare? If my young master finds out, you're dead. Qingling also started to feel scared. This man in embroidered clothes was obviously not a good person. He was definitely a playboy who indulged in debauchery. If she fell into his hands, her life would be over. Her body and mind belonged to the young master. Looking at you, your master must be trash too. If you follow this young master, I'll guarantee you wealth and glory. The smile on the embroidered robed man's face grew wider and wider. Even such a beautiful maid was dressed so shabbily. He believed that the other party was just an ordinary martial artist. Even the top 10 families in soliciting Moon City would not dare to provoke the Yen family easily. One don't want this anymore. You can take it. Qing Ling saw that the situation wasn't right and looked at the accessory in her hand reluctantly. In the end, she put it back where it was. If she couldn't afford to offend it, she had to avoid it. She was about to leave to look for Li Lingtian after she put away the accessory when someone grabbed her hand. It's not that easy to leave. Just follow me back obediently. The embroidered-robed man chuckled. He grabbed Qing Ling's wrist with one hand and leaned his head closer, sniffing her continuously. Tis. All. At this moment his arm felt a sharp pain. His arm was cut off by a light shadow and fell to the ground. Blood immediately gushed out. The heart-wrenching pain made him scream. Then he cast a few spells to stop the bleeding on his injured arm. His eyes were fierce as he looked not far away. A white-robed young man smiled at him. The white-robed young man had been standing there the entire time. However, he only had eyes for the little beauty in front of him, and completely ignored the surrounding martial artists. After the others moved aside, Qing Ling spotted Li Lingtian. It turned out that young master had been waiting for her there. Young master, they are bullying me. 2 streams of crystal-clear tears streaked across Qing Ling's small face as she threw herself into Li Lingtian's arms without any hesitation. It's fine. I've been watching. Don't worry, I'm here. Li Lingtian gently patted Qing Ling's back before walking up step by step. He glared at the man in embroidered clothes with a sharp gaze and a smile on his face. Bastard, you're dead. How dare you hurt me? I'll make you wish you were dead. And you, I'll make you want to die tonight. When the man in embroidered clothes saw Li Lingtian, he knew that the person who injured him was the white-clothed youth. How could he tolerate such hatred when he plotted against him and cut off his arm? Moreover, a trace of jealousy grew in his heart. He thought he was cool, but when he saw this young man in white, he knew what cool was. His temperament was innate. You have a foul mouth. You deserve a beating. The smile on Li Lingtian's face remained. Was he courting death by scolding him? He was courting death by having designs on his woman. Although Qing Ling was only his maid, she was still his woman. The 4 things that a man had to protect were protect his woman, protect his family, protect his brothers, and protect the territory under his feet. Besides, women were Li Lingtian's top priority. If a girl could not protect him when he gave her all his heart, what kind of man was he? After saying that, he waved his hand and slapped her across the air. Pa! The crisp sound jolted the young woman awake. She kept staring at Li Lingtian and was attracted by his elegant and graceful body. F***ck. How dare you hit me? Do you know who I am? The embroidered-robed man was stunned by the slap. Countless martial artists revealed expressions of schadenfreude. I'm hitting you. I don't care who you are. Your mouth is so cheap. One have to teach you a lesson. Li Lingtian said calmly. Those who threatened him were fools. He hated it when someone threatened him. The people who threatened him were no longer there. He had always strangled the threat in the cradle. Pa pa pa. A series of crisp sounds rang out as the qi in the air shot out and Li Lingtian's palm flew. The moment the sound fell, the man in embroidered clothes turned into a pig's head. Even if his mother came, she wouldn't be able to recognize him. Countless martial artists who were watching revealed terrified expressions. Who wasn't afraid of being beaten up like this? How dare you have designs on my woman? You're courting death. Li Lingtian's body flashed as he kicked out. Instantly, the man in embroidered clothes let out a crisp sound from his lower body, followed by a shrill scream as his body was thrown out. Young master! Qing Ling leaned against Li Lingtian as tears rolled down her face. She was extremely happy when she heard Li Lingtian say that she was his woman. Didn't you want this? Li Lingtian looked at Qing Ling and wiped the tears off his face. He could not bear to see this little beauty sad. After saying that, he took out the accessory that Qing Ling wanted to buy and threw a middle-grade spirit stone over. He looked at the young woman with a sharp gaze, and the young woman immediately trembled. Do you want to hit a woman? The young woman smiled. She did not even take the man in embroidered clothes, injury to heart as she looked at Li Lingtian with a teasing gaze. Pa! Oh! A loud slap landed on the young woman's face. Instantly her face swelled up. She's not my woman. I can hit her whenever I want, let alone a slut like you. Li Lingtian's cold words stunned all the warriors. They did not expect the white-robed young man to hit a woman. However, they were rendered speechless by Li Lingtian's words. This young man was right. If he didn't hit women, the women of the divine martial continent would have cultivation bases. If he met them, he wouldn't have been killed for nothing. After saying that, Li Lingtian took Qing Ling's hand and left without even looking at the man in embroidered clothes and the dazed young woman. You injured a disciple of my Yin clan and left just like that? Is it that simple? At this moment a cold voice sounded. As the voice fell, an explosive attack shot over, and the air seemed to be burning. Oh no, it's Yin Mia, the genius disciple of the Yin family. He's a 5th-level martial emperor. He's finished this time. Hurry up and retreat. A 2nd-level martial emperor is extremely powerful. Don't get us into trouble. He's dead. Countless martial artists cried out in alarm and quickly moved to the sides, leaving a large area of empty space. A figure appeared in the air. At the same time, the explosive attack arrived behind Li Lingtian and his companion. You're courting death. Instead of advancing, Li Lingtian retreated to meet the explosive attack head-on. With a twist of his body, a ball of icy blaze appeared in his hand. He extended his hand and the icy blaze collided with the destructive attack. There was no sound of explosion as the destructive attack was nullified. The frost flame in Li Lingtian's hand continued to devour the destructive force. With a wave of his hand, the icy flames in his hand shot out at an extremely fast speed. The young man in the air was shocked when he saw Li Lingtian easily negating his attack. This white-robed young man clearly had no cultivation, but he had injured a disciple of the Yin family. Now, he had even neutralized his own attack. He gradually felt fear in his heart. Seeing the arrival of the ice flames, a huge weapon slashed out. Tis! A terrifying thing happened. The light emitted by the weapon cut the icy flame in half. The two halves of the icy flame didn't stop at all and shot toward Yin Mia. Flame Extinguisher did not expect things to turn out like this. His attack could not even break through one attack. Instead, it made his opponent's attack stronger. Condensing Light Mirror. Despite his shock, he did not dare to use any more attacks to counter it. With a flick of his divine consciousness, a round mirror appeared in his hand. Immediately, a dazzling beam of light shot toward Li Lingtian's icy frost flame. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.